Y- 3 co-hosts. Matt, I don't even know. I just like Zach. It's simple. It's one syllable. I don't I don't need a nom de guerre or anything. I'm not Superman. I did. I've been down with the Cajun folks too long. I broke out some French today.
Take two. Good morning, good evening. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I did one of those things where I didn't do the cold open, but it was a kind of a cold open because I didn't unmute my mic and then you didn't hear me. So here we're going. Um, it's late. We don't have a script. We're talking about comics and whatever else is on our mind. Um, I'm Ash, and these are my lovely co-hosts RDV and Zach. And yeah, I feel kind of stupid having to repeat myself, but no one heard me but you guys. So, um, what's going on with
That's
you
okay
two?
then. Yeah, I think he's still avoiding the cold open.
It's open. We're on air. RDV,
I
come out of the
know.
closet.
Yeah, the cold snap is over. Get out of here, frog. Um, I'm doing. No, I'm doing. I'll kick it off. I'm doing good. Had a good weekend. Stood in. Had a good friend of mine get married, so I stood in the wedding. I was the best man.
Mm,
Good time. Got like 14,000 steps in that day, running all over the place, doing stuff. But yeah, it was a good time. And then I spent all of Saturday just playing Spider-Man and recovering. So
gotcha.
yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Did you make the customary toast as the best man?
We did. So the toasts were done. I was always, every wedding I've been to, they do the toast at the wedding reception. These guys decided to do the toast at the rehearsal, like the whole a day before, when I didn't have my note cards, and I didn't have, not note cards, but like a yellow pad with my thoughts written out on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I remembered most of what I wrote, but I kind of also had to wing it. So I kind of let the bride, the what is it, the maid of honor, parents, I kind of let everybody else go first, and then I was like the closing act. So, but yeah, no, I did a little toast.
Did a
It was
toast
it
as a
was
rehearsal? Well, then all the
they
the
did this
get the guests and
they
stuff
did
don't get to
this
hear it.
I felt like the people that it would have mattered to most got to hear it, I feel. Because it was a nice little kind of intimate gathering, just like the
Ah, my
family and close
goodness.
friends. They did a lot of things differently. Like they did like they I guess some weddings do this now where they take pictures before the ceremony.
Oh
Like the
boy.
bride and groom saw each other before the ceremony, which I'd never seen that before. Uh, so
Was
yeah,
it
they got
was yours in a
what?
church?
Yeah, it was a Catholic wedding.
See, my friend, who's Catholic, didn't want to go through all the BS having his fiance going through the catechism class stuff. So
Hmm.
they went with a barn thing, a wedding, and
Wait,
having
so
her
was it
uncle. Yeah,
he was Catholic but she wasn't? Is that
she
what it
wasn't.
was?
She wasn't, and
Oh,
he
okay.
he didn't want to go through all that stuff. So
See, this is the opposite. She's the Catholic one and he's not. I used to go to church with them. Uh, so yeah, I don't know if he did. I don't think he's converting to Catholicism, but
I'm not, yeah, I'm not sure what she is, but either one of
yeah,
them go to church. I know that, but
yeah,
theirs was in a barn thing. That's what I'd go to. I was
those
outdoor
are
thing.
fun.
Yeah. Pictures were afterwards,
Hmm.
not before.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, I kind of like doing the pictures before because if you do because I've been in wedding parties, well, they'll do the pictures between the ceremony and the reception, and it's just like all the food kind of gets cold and people are just waiting for you to show up, and it could take like two
They
hours.
It was actually done pretty well. They actually they had heat warmers of the little things you heat
Ooh,
up. So
oh, okay.
the catering actually did a good job because we went out for photos, then we sat down, and then they did all the photos were done, went and then sat down. The table, the people in the wedding party goes up, gets their food first, then we sit down. you know, and
Yeah.
then there's a few more photos, in between, but like you said, it wasn't like crazy though. But like I said,
Yeah.
I just having to wear that monkey suit though, man. Whew,
Oh, see, that was another thing. We didn't have to wear suits. It
you're
was
lucky. You're
yeah, it was like
lucky.
pants and a button down with some suspenders and a bow tie.
It was like a $300 suit I had to rent.
God, dog, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
right. I got to keep the socks though.
Hey, the socks are I'm at the point in my life now where I appreciate a really good pair of socks.
Well, they said that get into dress socks because I last time I had dress socks when I was like 9 or 12 years old.
Oh yeah, well you can't appreciate them when you're 10 years old.
Appreciate him
You
while
know,
you
Like,
can. You get my
you're
age,
like,
and
socks.
but we went to the Men's Warehouse for some stuff. That was fun.
appreciate the socks
Oh,
while you can. You get to my age, your circulation starts decreasing, and then socks make all your feet hot all the time. So
I'm at the point right now, like I still like them, but like I don't know if it's just because I have like fat in my calves or what, but if I leave some dress socks on too long, like they start to leave the impressions in my calf.
oh yeah.
I
But
I don't know about that, but I did learn something today. When you get closer to 40, you get this thing called ear hair.
Oh yeah, I've got that at 35.
Yeah, so I was looking it up because I was just curious because I've never really my dad's no longer alive, so never really got to talk about that. But apparently, it means you have a lot of testosterone.
oh, is
Oh,
that man? I must be
well that
full of
makes sense.
testosterone.
I
Yeah,
mean, body hair and I mean the ear is part
You
of the
gotta
body.
invest in yourself. Gotta get one of those like those little electric razors. They're like it looks like
I
almost
yeah
like a pencil or whatever, and the
yeah yeah yeah,
blade.
Hmm.
And you
yep.
just
Those
like
Yeah.
stick it in your ear and.
yeah, I got one. I
Yeah.
got one of those. I'm not freaking using a regular razor blade.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
no.
God no.
Oh
No,
What's up with
boy.
that?
but
What?
but apparently, I always thought that because I remember when you're younger, you're like you see the old guy, he's got the ear hair. I'm like, oh, they like you like oh, it only happens to senior citizens.
Nope.
Apparently, I didn't realize that when you're younger, you do have ear hair. It doesn't just grow out that much. Though.
It's really fine. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like really
yeah.
really fine.
Yeah.
And it's the most disgusting topic I could bring up is RDV.
Once you get
But
in middle age, as a man, like yeah, it's just like all of a sudden the hair in your nose and ears just like grows like vines.
yeah, that happened. Yeah, mid 30s. But it says like as you get to it's from 40 to 60 is when you have like just real high testosterone. Because I know guys do have a somewhat estrogen, not a lot. You know,
Yeah, both
just
men and women both have estrogen and testosterone, just healthy levels for women.
yeah,
Estrogen is higher, and then
yeah.
with men, testosterone is higher.
Because women go through this thing where they lose their estrogen and all they have is testosterone. Where
Yeah.
guys, it seems like we lose the testosterone. We do the
Hmm.
opposite.
Yep, that's
So
one of the many. Go
I
It's
ahead.
just want to
it's
take a
weird.
second to say hello to Austin and to Helam and Dominic and Chet. Good to see you guys. Dominic says,
Yeah.
"Good evening, everyone. How many people have read the latest issue of Big Game?" So can't answer for the chat. Hopefully, the chat will answer themselves. But obviously, all three of us have read it. And oh
Yeah.
my gosh, we're going to
Yep.
be getting to that book tonight. What a freaking doozy! That's all I mean.
What a doozy.
Yeah.
What a
I was
doozy.
actually worried. I was worried my LCS wouldn't have. So last week, now that I'm like working a lot more this time of year, I didn't get to the comic book shop on Wednesday for New Comic Book Day. And I had like this moment of panic where it's like I didn't know if they were going to have any copies of Big Game left because like when Nightclub and Ambassadors were coming out, my LCS wasn't ordering a ton of copies, or it felt like they weren't ordering a ton of copies. Like I would always manage to just get one of the few that were left. And so me knowing how popular and how Big Game is, it's like, oh shoot, I'm not gonna be able to get a copy. I'm gonna be left out. Thankfully, they ordered like I guess they learned or something because they had like an abundance of Big Game #4. So yeah,
Nice.
that was a tizzy to read, man.
So before we get going, um, I got to eat my dinner still. You better be relying on you guys to talk on the mic.
All right, we'll
Um,
talk. You use to stuff your mouth with food.
Go
I'll
ahead,
stuff my mouth with
Mariko.
food, but I got to drink tonight, and I'm gonna do a taste test.
Ooh,
One of my favorite mixed drinks in the world is a White Russian. So Zach, I'm sure you'd appreciate it. Um,
haven't had one. Oh, is that a? Oh, I get it now.
it's
It's like I've never had a White Russian.
It's a great White Russians are great. They're order them for dessert. They're fantastic. But I made one. I've never done this before. I'm experimenting. I have no idea how it's going to turn out.
You're kind of old
I-
to be experimenting.
I made it, but I made it with oat milk instead of real milk.
Interesting.
So it it looks a little
Kinda
weird
curious.
because the liquors don't seem to mix with the oat milk the way they do.
With
But
dairy, yeah.
I don't know. But so for those who aren't familiar, White Russian, it's a very simple drink. It's vodka, Kahlua, and milk. Some people I've heard use cream. I've never had one with cream. I always do whole milk. Don't do 2% or light milk or any of that nonsense. You do kind of want it creamy. But it's basically a shot of vodka, I think like half a shot of Kahlua, and then you pour the rest. You do a low ball glass, and you just fill the rest up with milk, so it looks very white. Also, you don't stir it, so the Kahlua and the vodka's in the bottom, and the milk floats on it, and so when you get it, then you stir it, and it's not white anymore. But anyways, here goes.
Kind of curious about this.
I've never been a fan of Kahlua. It just sounds gross.
Oh, Kahlua is the best. It's a coffee liqueur.
Kahlua is
You were-
bomb.
You and coffee, man. It's just like
Okay.
Dude, let me tell you something, man.
It doesn't
Coffee
taste
is
like
life.
coffee though. The Kahlua does not taste like coffee.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's like vodka doesn't taste like potatoes, even though it's fermented potatoes.
Right. Okay.
Although I learned this at the bachelor party last week, mead does actually taste like honey. It's fermented honey, and it legit tastes like honey.
Nice.
So it's pretty good. It's pretty darn good. Very
So
smooth.
this is not what I expected. It's not awful, but if you're expecting the normal White Russian taste, it does throw you off. It's
Turn your
drinkable.
camera on so we can see it.
It's very drinkable. It looks like a glass of milk.
Ugh. Like
Well-
milk with vodka in it.
Is it sweeter than you thought it would be? Because in my
No,
experience,
it's the oaty taste. Oat milk has like an
Okay.
oaty taste.
Or
Um,
Odie.
So I've started to use oat milk more in my cold brew coffees, and I
Mhm.
find that it has a bit of a sweeter taste than if you use regular dairy.
Depends on the oat milk because unlike regular milk, you can get milk and like all the cows make milk the same. So whatever
Right.
brand of milk you get, it pretty much tastes the same.
Right.
Oat milk, of course, is a manufactured thing. So just like soda, Coke and Pepsi, they don't taste the same. Oat milk, the brands vary, and I had one the other day. It was a Chobani brand, and it was like a vanilla oat milk, and it was really good. This is Silk's brand, and it's just their creamy. They have regular and creamy. I got the creamy kind. It has a pronounced oat taste. It's fine. I think this would be fine in coffee, but like on its own, it's more noticeable. Maybe if I put more Kahlua in it, it might break it up. But it's weird. So, anyways, I was experimenting because I have a friend that's lactose intolerant and stuff, and I was expressing, and I was like, "Oh, have you tried oat milk?" And anyways, I was like, "Ah, I'm gonna try this." So there we go. No one cared about that, but that was my adventures in experimentation. Marani's joined the chat. Welcome, Rania. And you guys take it away so I can eat my burger.
Ooh, burger sounds good. I had shawarma, chicken shawarma for dinner. I did some alcohol experimenting the other day. A friend of mine got me into. So I'm not a beer drinker. I like cocktails, but he got me to drink some Heineken with lime in it, like a lime wedge. That thing changed my life.
Did he put in the coconuts?
No, he put it in the bottle. Like he opened the bottle, he had like a small wedge of lime, squeezed it in there, and yeah, I mean it was really refreshing. Way better than.
Have you not had beer with lime before?
Never. I typically avoid beer. I used to work at a wedding venue, like doing busboy duties and serving tables, and so a bunch of weddings. This is in Texas. Like the mainstay that you find is Bud Light or Miller or Coors, like, and they all taste and smell like this. So I kind of just assumed all beers were like that. And then I found out like that Heineken or Ultra, like these beers aren't like that. So I'm starting to dip my toes back into that pond. So
Yeah, better
So
quality beer tastes better.
so
yeah,
here's something. I was just browsing just anything news stuff. Apparently, according to what is this here? What does it say? To in the new tell-all book MCU: The Reign of Marvel Studios by Joanna Robinson, Dave Gonzalez and Gavin Edwards, uh, basically behind the scenes, basically everything that happened with the various projects. But apparently, there's two people that Kevin Feige refers this to, basically, or Feige, whatever you prefer. Uh, Two people he refuses to work with: Edward Norton and Joss Whedon.
I had heard about this book. I kind of want to read this book to
Yeah.
get like this because it's like supposedly like this insight behind the MCU and what was going on during production of all these movies.
So my thing,
So
I really there's everybody says that he wasn't a team player. I
yeah,
almost wonder what Avengers would look like with Edward Norton's Hulk.
probably better. I like him more than
I'd
Mark
say it
Ruffalo.
could. Mark Ruffalo is like a no one cares. Uh,
The Joss Whedon thing makes sense because he's got kind of this bad stink around him after Ultron. Like, well,
yeah,
Edward Norton did too. Like, they
it was.
didn't want to be team players with Disney or
Well,
with
actually,
Feige.
even before that, it was what Agents of Shield is where they're butting heads over. Apparently,
Yeah.
it's just
Actually,
that.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised that what's his name? Oh
So
God, who's that director?
I don't know, but it says here the book suggests that Feige wasn't happy with Whedon was doing the series, and that the existence of Shield contradict the events of Captain America: Winter Soldier.
How did it contradict? If
Yeah,
anything, Winter Soldier made that show way more interesting.
and also another MCU focused book in there forward he implies that the Marvel shows before WandaVision aren't part of the MCU's sacred timeline.
Wow. Who is that director I keep thinking? Who is the director that did like he did Baby Driver and he did Scott Pilgrim?
Oh,
Um, he's like a British director. He did like I think he did like Shaun of the Dead. Doggone. He was the one who was originally supposed to do Ant-Man.
Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright, that's his name. The son of a gun. Yeah, he didn't want to. He and Disney like they parted over. They say creative differences, but I feel like with him, it's like the same thing as Joss Whedon or Ed Norton. Like they just didn't want to be. Well, probably Disney would say they didn't want to be a team player. What's more likely is they had probably some idea that Disney didn't want, and since Disney's like, well, we own everything, we don't need you, kicked him to the curb. But I do want to check out that book though, because there was some stuff I had kind of known about. Like they talked about how Black Panther, Captain Marvel, and Spider-Man were kind of supposed to be like the new Trinity after Iron Man, Cap, and Thor left. But then of course Chadwick Boseman died, and Sony really owns the rights to Spider-Man, so there's like that whole kerfuffle, and nobody likes Brie Larson.
Yeah.
So
Also, Zach Penn, the original writer of Avengers, blasted Joss Whedon, saying he was a horrible nightmare to work with.
oh, I believe it. He's got some really great projects and things that he created, but I've heard he's not a wonderful person. He's kind of
You
like Mark
know,
Waid.
you hear things like that, and then you like hear
You
the
wonder.
testimony of like the Firefly cast, and all of them are like, "Oh, if Josh Whedon redid this, we'd be back in a heartbeat." Like
Yeah, that's
this
true.
is one of those things that it's like I take with a grain of salt because
Sure,
people
always.
have
Yeah.
personality clashes, right? And then
Mhm.
they just people rub them the wrong way, and it's like that doesn't, whatever. I don't know what really happened.
Well, that's like a Tom Cruise. Since he's a nightmare to work with, because the whole COVID situation. Or Christian Bale. I think Christian Bale's a dick to work with. We don't know what was true or not, but we all want to believe that anybody who's a Hollywood celebrity
I have
is a
actually
dick.
seen I have actually seen video footage of Christian Bale on the set,
Yeah, Christian Bale.
and
I
was
saw
like,
I saw
ooh.
that video footage.
My point stands. There's always going to be somebody who says like I'm a key grip or this, and these celebrities are horrible to work with.
Yeah.
Well, I think
you know,
it's more like everybody has bad days. Like people have good days, people have
sure,
bad days. And
that's
your
it.
experience, if you have your first experience with somebody on a bad day, that's just going to stick with you, no matter how many good days you might have
Yep,
after.
yep. Yeah, and that's my point stands is that it's one person's perspective. Could maybe that person was being a dick to the celebrity, and the celebrity, was tired of their tone and finally snapped at him. You know, who
Maybe,
knows?
Let me just
maybe.
let me put a piece of perspective on this. So, I've had my two favorite bosses that I've ever had in my life were both they're my favorite bosses, but were both widely disliked by a lot of other people, like my coworkers.
Yep.
Especially my last one. Like, um, so it's one of those things where I'm just like, people are like, oh, I hate this guy, and I'm just like, really? Like, he's like the best boss I've ever had. Like, I don't get what. And I think it's just sometimes it could be a personality clash, or I think sometimes there's just issues where like there's talks about Jim Shooter at his era at Marvel, right?
Hmm.
I think Jim Shooter's the best editor of mainstream comics that's ever lived. And I think what
Hmm.
he did at Marvel was phenomenal. But you also have to acknowledge that a lot of comic creators really despise Jim Shooter. But I look at it and I go, they probably despised him for the same reason criminals despise cops, because he held them accountable. Um,
Yep.
like, it's like when you were going to school, you always had that like strict teacher, and then the kid's like, I hate that teacher. It's like, then,
Yep.
have the teacher that's like, oh, this teacher that says goof around all the time. She's the best. It's like, well, yeah, she's not the
Yeah,
best.
but did you learn anything in
Right?
her
Did you learn
class
anything?
though?
So I think people sometimes, you know, when in this case, Joss Whedon, when he was directing the Avengers, he was almost everybody's boss, right? Like he wasn't Kevin Feige's boss, but everyone that was making the movie had to answer to him. He's the director,
Hmm.
and sometimes answering to people you don't like it, especially if they're demanding. And
Yep.
I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. All I know is that I've heard some people say they love Joss Whedon, some people say they hate
Hmm.
him. It's like whatever.
Well, it's the same thing with James Gunn. Like we know the Guardians of the Galaxy, like all the cast, they love James Gunn. They,
Yep.
were like petitioning for him to come back after Marvel cut him the first time. But like part of that book, RDV was quoting from, there's like this whole thing where like this woman, she was I guess the original screenwriter, or she wrote the original screenplay for the first Guardians movie, and she did not care for James Gunn at all because they didn't give her a writing credit on the movie because I guess the reasoning was that they had changed the script so much, like it hardly resembled the original cut. So she was like really pissed and sore at James Gunn for her not having a writing credit. I think she eventually got it, but it's just those things. It's like, there are some people that you're going to work with, like talking about you, like your example that you gave. I mean, my favorite boss I had when I was working in coffee as a barista was nobody else's favorite boss, just because of personality clashes. Maybe they she cracked down hard on too many people goofing off and not enough people working. It's just you're gonna have that, I think, in every area.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, like my last boss was he was like a real straight shooter, but he didn't have any like diplomacy. He was like if you were like screwing up, he would just be like, "Hey, you're fucking up," and it would hurt people's feelings. But I'm very much a blunt kind of personality. Like just shoot me. I would rather you be harsh or blunt or
yep,
non-tactful or whatever, but
yep.
know that I could always trust you, that you weren't like being duplicitous behind my back. I would much rather have that than a boss who like talks nice to you and then behind your back he's like planning on firing you. Like I was
Mhm.
like this guy, like he was like I said, I considered him a straight shooter. I knew I could trust him. If I did something wrong, he would tell me and he would be super blunt and he wouldn't candy coat it, but I also knew that what he said, like what I got from him, was all that there was. Like there wasn't reserved, and so we could have a really good, honest relationship. And I appreciate it. But a lot of other people, they'd be like, "Oh, Chris yelled at me," It's like, "Oh, get over it." It's like, He's a cool guy.
Yep.
Like he actually wants you to succeed. Like he's not firing you. He's just trying to get you to
Yeah,
perform better.
I never came across those positive ones. They were just a complete dick because I hated working there.
Ah,
So I had those, and I had I've had some of the nicer bosses, but I said I had a lot of power trip assistant managers. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, you're in a retail store. If you want a better job, get a trade, or become a boss. Like,
well, that's the worst, man. Those people because those are the people that become the bad bosses.
Yeah.
yeah,
Dominic says, while I admit that he could have eased off on his micromanagement, but Shooter held everyone accountable. Yet for some reason, some of those creators took offense to that. And yeah, I mean that's totally right. And maybe Shooter was a little bit too hard. Probably, I imagine he probably didn't have like the tact to be. But here's the thing: these creators, they take a job. Shooter would say, "Hey, you want a job? You want to draw Iron Man or whatever?" Just as an example. And okay, this is what's required. You have a due date, deadline. Your stuff's due by this time, like that, and we're gonna pay you X amount of dollars. Like it's an agreement. And these creators were used to like slipping
getting it right.
deadlines and things like that,
Yep.
and so then you'd have to like get on them, and they didn't like that. And it's like, well, you took the job, guys. Like I get it that you don't like that Jim Shooter's hardcore, but he took the job because Marvel was doing terrible. Like they were late all the time. Like his job was to clean up the house.
Yep.
But whatever. Um, plus,
I'm just so excited.
if John Byrne doesn't like you, it's probably a good thing. Like you're probably doing something right.
Also, this morning on Twitter, One Piece from Netflix posted showing the writers for season 2.
Wait, what? They
One
got
Piece.
new writers, or they're not keeping the same writers?
Well, no. They showed the writers.
Oh.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't know if they're new writers, but I'm just saying it's basically saying that the scripts are top.
oh yeah, they already.
yeah.
I thought they had already. They had
Yeah.
already finished the script. I thought.
Or was it, they basically pre-confirmed that production on One Piece had resumed with the script top priority being set, so that the set building and scheduling could get begin.
Oh, okay.
But it must have been that the writing is still going to take some time since the team was only able to finish a couple of story outlines before the strike.
Yeah.
But I'm happy it's going forward though.
That pesky strike, man.
I gotta say.
Did you? I'm sorry. This is slightly different. This made me laugh though. So the actors strike is still going on, right? The Screen Actors Guild or whatever. So they sent out this social media notification to all of the union actors. It's like, we know Halloween is coming, but we don't want anybody to dress up as characters from movies that you've worked on that you can advertise to people. So just dress up as something generic like a ghost or a skeleton. And they got a lot of pushback from other actors. It was actually pretty funny.
Well, the strike's already over. It ended on
No. The writer's strike is. This is the Screen Actors.
Oh.
The actors are still on strike.
The Screen Actor strikes are always kind of get me because number one, if you're an actor, if you're a bit part actor, you're not making tons of part. But if you are like a leading actor or even like a solid like supporting actor, you're already making way
Mega
too much
bucks.
money. Like
Yeah.
Like the whole like, oh, I'm a strike, I need to make more. It's just like makes me disgusted. And there is real talent out there that would do your job for free just to be
Yep,
like in a movie. And
Well,
you're striking because you can't get more than like $10 million to do a movie. Like screw you.
Is it the big A-listers that are wanting the strike, or is it the union bosses? Because that's the thing. Because like I've seen where people, like mostly these employees, are happy and satisfied with their jobs and their working conditions, but because of a few disgruntled employees, they call their union and the union gets involved, and then it makes even the people that are happy with their jobs have to strike.
Perhaps they sound unified though. I mean, the way they were talking about it,
well,
and I mean they do have some legitimate. They do have some legitimate gripes. I'm not gonna pretend otherwise. Like the whole being able to use their likeness for an Infinity, Like without,
Yeah,
I think
that
they need
part
to
I agree with.
renegotiate. But these actors, like just in general, I'm like, you guys are so replaceable. You guys are like 1 minute away from someone else taking your role in a movie or something and being forgotten all about. Remember Terrence Howard? Remember that guy who used to be Rhodey? And then he
Yeah.
asked for more money, and then we
Like
never
when I
saw
think,
Terrence Howard again do anything
right? Yep.
because no
Do you
and
think?
do you see anyone crying and being like, "Oh, I wish we saw more Terrence Howard." No one cares. Once you get out of the limelight, the audiences move on. They're just like, "Whatever, who's this new hotness? We'll follow that person." Like
Yep.
the actors are such an illusion. This idea that like, "Oh, we got to have this actor is going to sell movie tickets."
It's
Yes
Chris.
and no.
Was it Chris Evans outside of Captain America? I don't give two shits about him.
Yeah. So what
Sorry.
actors
I
do is
actually like him.
they
He's
give
good.
credence to a movie script getting investment, right? If you say Chris Evans, for example, I want to make a movie and it stars Chris Evans, we need financial backing. Okay, the financial backers are more likely to say, okay, we'll greenlight this movie because we think Chris Evans will draw a crowd or whatever. Versus, hey, we got this no-name guy who's going to play the part. It's like, what? No, that's too big of a risk. So that's
Can
where
we go back,
that's where
Ash?
actors. Yeah, what's up?
We need to go back to where what Canon Film Group used to do. Go to the mall, have a giant casting call there.
Canon.
That's how we got Michael. Canon Films back in the day. That's
fair,
how we got
fair
American.
enough. But Canon made some really, really low budget stuff.
American Ninja. Michael Dudikoff.
Yes,
Everyone got him.
Yes, and one of my favorites, Bloodsport. Is a Canon film. But let's not pretend that was great cinema. So
were you entertained? That's how you know it's great cinema. If you
yes,
were
I was
entertained,
entertained. Look at you don't even need to go Canon. Look at Star Wars. Lucas used a bunch of nobodies. The biggest name in Star Wars was Alec Guinness. And he only
And he
put
was
Alec
embarrassed by it.
he put Alec Guinness in there basically because the studios were like, you got to have somebody in your movie that we can put on the title card that people are going to know the name of, right? But and Sir Alec Guinness was at the end of his career, right? So it was like he was able to sort of get him. But Lucas made an independent film on the cheap. Star Wars only cost $8 million to make. No one had heard of. I mean, Mark Hamill had been in some. Same with Harrison Ford, but it wasn't like they were big stars. Afterwards, of course, they became household names and stuff. But my point is, and look at the Marvel films. Like yes, Robert Downey.
Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pratt. I mean,
Chris
yeah, you
Hemsworth
got
was a
a bunch of
nobody
names.
before Thor. I mean,
Yep.
he'd been around, but it wasn't like he was a huge star. Same Chris
Right.
Pratt. Okay, he was on a comedy show people liked. But even Robert Downey Jr. He's probably like the biggest, and it's easy to
Oh,
forget
yeah.
because he's such a mega. Like the Marvel films, like brought Robert Downey Jr. back in like just with a vengeance. It was like this
Yeah,
guy is being
'cause
way bigger than he'd
nobody
ever been before. But he was like on the out, like he was in the doghouse for like
would
a
touch him.
decade. No one would touch him. So he was essentially a nobody if you consider from that. So, but the point is you could put these people in roles, and if they delivered quality, the audience didn't care. All of a sudden, it was like, I love Chris Hemsworth as Thor. I love Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. It's just the movies sold that, and that I think you can do the same thing with nobodies. You can just go do a casting call and find someone, and if you make a good movie, that good movie will turn that person into a star. You don't need stars. Go ahead.
Well, look at what they did with One Piece. I mean, all of the cast of One Piece are pretty much nobodies.
Yep.
Like nobody's seen any of it, but because they fit the characters, they personify the characters well enough. It does, and it also doesn't hurt that a bunch of them are also fans of the source material. But just you have that good script, they're able to perform it well, and now they're going to be, I predict they're probably going to be stars. At least a few of them will probably get to grow and become these big name actors. Hopefully,
We'll see. I don't think
so
One Piece is big as you guys. We'll see. We'll see how it
I
goes.
don't
I could be
know.
wrong. We'll see.
It was the #1 show on Netflix in 84
Eh,
countries. It
there's been a
beat
lot of
Stranger
#1
Things
shows on
in
Netflix.
84 countries though.
I'm gonna tell you right now.
It beat Stranger Things and it beat Wednesday, which are like the two biggest shows I think Netflix
Well,
has had.
Wednesday is that's gonna be canceled. No one cares about Wednesday.
Oh no, dude! There are a lot of it's a really weird number of people. Like there's a lot of people that apparently care about Wednesday Addams. I don't know. Maybe it's
I've
because
ever heard.
I'm a little closer to the age demographic with my youth group, I guess. But there are a lot of kids that really love Wednesday.
So
Well,
the better
so
example, one sec, we're RDB. The better example of I think what you're trying to get to would be the Harry Potter films. You took a
Maybe.
bunch of nobodies, threw them in that
Yeah.
film, and all of a sudden, all of them had careers afterwards. Go ahead,
You
RDB.
could say that.
What's that? Can I go now? Okay, let's part. I was gonna say it before, but Zach went on a rant when I was first talking about One Piece. I said that is my breakout, my choice for a breakout TV series or adaptation. I mean, because when it came out, there's a lot of we get a lot of adaptations from mangas and animes, and that was one show I wasn't really looking forward to watching it. But I sat down, I watched it the first episode, and I was hooked. It's kind of like Stranger Things in a way.
I like One Piece a little more. Stranger Things started out really, really great, but then it just kind of lost me over the seasons.
Can I finish?
I thought you were.
I wasn't.
You had a complete sentence.
I have a paragraph to talk.
Continue.
Ask and splurge for 4 paragraphs. I at least get 1.
He didn't mean to interrupt you. Don't be sensitive.
I'm always sensitive, guys. Oh my gosh. Seriously though, Stranger Things was another show I didn't give 2 shits about. But the minute I sat down, I watched it. I was like, this actually isn't that bad. Then I actually started to really love it. There isn't that many shows for me that are like that. There, it's like I see coming out, it's like, holy crap! Like this is one of my favorite shows.
Mm-hmm.
I can only count 2 shows that I really enjoyed this so far this year, and that's been Rabbit Hole, another show I didn't really know much about.
Say that one.
Then Drink.
I don't have any alcohol.
Rabbit Hole is really good. Like Venkman hyped the shit out of that show.
Yep.
And it was something I was already interested in, but I didn't have Paramount, and so like he ended up watching the whole thing, and he was like, "Have you watched Rabbit Hole yet?" And I was like, "No." And then eventually I got around to it. I watched it when I had COVID, and I just binged it. And I was like, "Dude, he was not wrong." Like I was expecting to be like, "Yeah, it's probably." Like like One Piece. Like I don't love it as much as you guys do. I was expecting it to be like that. It's like, okay, he really loved it. I just sort of kind of liked it. I was really impressed, and it really one thing that the number one thing about Rabbit Hole, and there's a lot of great things about the show, but one of the things I love most about the show is that it stuck the landing. Like
yeah,
major. Like it has a satisfactory like end. You're like, oh, like a lot of TV shows just sort of leave things dangling, and it's like, okay. This one is like boom. It felt like watching like the way a movie is, like it resolves. So
yeah, but I said like Stranger Things was a thing. I was like, everyone's like, my sister like, you need to watch this. I was like, and when someone keeps telling me you need to watch this, I get irritated. It's like, okay, you told me the first 5 times. What do you think the second time you tell me is gonna make me watch it? But
which is funny because he did that with Rabbit Hole to me. Go ahead.
No, Rabbit Hole. No one told me to watch it.
No, but you did that to me with it.
Oh yeah. That's because I actually, dude, the one time I've ever done my whole entire life.
I'm just saying, like it's funny because you did that to me.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know about the one time.
You know what it's like to wear the shoe on the other foot now.
Well, Ash, I have to ask you because otherwise I'll say something. You're like, why are you gonna watch it yet? Spoilers. In all fairness, but no.
Well, are you glad I wasn't spoiled for that show? Like it would have not been as I think appreciable if you would have spoiled it.
That's the only kind of show that you should never be spoiled on. That the way that was done. If I would have spoiled anything, I think it would have ruined it for you.
Yeah, it would have been way less effective.
Yeah. There's a lot of shows like you don't want to get spoiled on, but it's like even if someone spoiled it, you're like, okay, well, I kind of wish someone would have told me about this because I don't like this show. But yeah, Stranger Things was like do you remember when Roseanne came back with her show so long ago? That first season came out.
Yeah.
I was house sitting. I was so freaking bored. I was like, you know what? I finally sat down and watched that thing, Stranger Things. It took a couple episodes for me to get hooked, but I mean, and even then, that kind of series kind of dropped off for me. But my point being is that One Piece, I hate the anime. It is horrendously boring to me.
Pleb.
No, it's called actually having an opinion instead of being a lemming.
Wow.
It's called having taste. No, I'm just kidding.
Even I don't hate the anime. I'm finding it difficult to get into.
Look, in all fairness, people say if you have to choose between watching the anime or reading the manga, everybody agrees to read the manga because you don't have any filler and you can go at your own pace and it's much, much more efficient.
And it probably doesn't feel quite as child. My difficult with One Piece is it feels like it's targeting 9-year-olds, like the way the Pokemon anime does. Like I feel the Pokemon anime and One Piece are like the same target audience.
Are you kidding?
It starts out kind of that way, but then because the characters grow as the story goes up, like they mature and everything.
Which Pokemon are you talking about? Because original Pokemon was aimed towards the later teens. The way he just burned everybody.
not the Pokemon with Red, which is actually kind of cool. I'm talking about Pokemon with Ash.
Okay, I'm talking about the 90s again. The 90s one. That was for older teens, dude.
It took that 10-year-old 20 years to become the Pokemon Grandmaster.
Yeah, the original Pokemon, the main character's name was Red. And it was more. So he was like a total badass. Anyways,
the Ash was in the 90s cartoon was totally just ripping on making fun of Misty and other people. And you had the other guy was always trying to get laid, Brock. So
Brock was an alpha man.
I don't know.
Brock
I've watched quite a bit of Pokemon because of the kids I was around. And I don't see it that way. I see it pretty much like the same feeling I got. Now I ended up being able to get past it with Pokemon, but it's still it is like I can't help it. I'm 50 years old. I'm not a 9-year-old. Like I'm
That's
okay
true.
with
when you hit a certain point, childish kids stories they just don't hit as hard.
Especially kids stories are fine. It's more if they're how they're told. If they're told in a way that's like almost like not talking down, but just told in a way that's like targeting. Like I can't watch like Blue's Clues or something. Like it's just it's I don't. I'm not trying to demonize it or anything. Like it's fine for little kids. But that's the trouble I have. But all I'm trying to say is that the manga, I would probably read it with my own internal voice, which would age it up. It wouldn't feel because anyways, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Ash, you kind of remind me of Peter Pan when he grew up and he forgot how to have fun. So he had the whole Hook movie.
I love Hook.
Hook was fantastic. That might be one of my top 3 Robin Williams movies. That's such a good movie.
Yeah, it's one of Steven Spielberg's most underrated films.
It really is. Nobody ever talks about Steven Spielberg directing Hook. They'll talk about Jurassic Park. They'll talk about Jaws, but nobody talks about Hook.
And it was really awesome to like be able to do a Peter Pan story that was original, and like every Peter Pan story is just a rehash of like, oh, it's Peter Pan. We've heard the story a million times. Like, why are we redoing this? And someone came to the table and said, how about we tell a story of Peter Pan when he's an adult? Like, oh, what would that be? And do it in a way that still captured like the childhood innocence and magic that the original story did. Just fantastic.
And he still didn't marry Wendy.
Yes.
But
nowadays though he probably would have. Nowadays it would have been done differently.
Well, nowadays it'd still be a girl. Like it always is. Whenever you see like live action stuff, it's always a girl playing Peter Pan. It's really weird.
No, the last couple of Peter Pan movies.
They wear the harness.
Are you talking about on stage or are you talking about movies?
On stage.
Yeah. See, on stage you typically have to wear a harness so that they can do the whole Peter Pan flying thing.
Well, on stage also it's because you have to use an adult, and it's difficult. Like because kids like with labor laws and stuff, like can't
Yeah.
work. So in a movie, it's a little different, but they can't be in a Broadway production. So you have to use an
Imagine-
adult, and so you have to. There's no way you could cast a man to play Peter
Right.
Pan. So you cast a girl and you just dress them up like a boy, and they can pass for a boy.
Can you imagine if you put a kid on there just eating him around on a harness?
That's why we have laws to protect those kids.
Screw those laws. I wanna
They
see a
can
kid
they
being
attach
thrown
the
around.
harness in a way that doesn't mess with your physical sensitivities. Yeah. I don't know how we got into the subject of Peter Pan, but we're
Well,
gonna be talking to.
no, I was just calling you curmudgeon in a clever way. Because you're an old man, you can't understand fun.
I do understand fun. I'm running a
He
freaking
understands
YouTube channel about
fun.
comics.
Yeah, if that's not understanding fun, I don't know what is.
Most 50-year-olds aren't like talking about this sort of shit. They think I'm the
That's
nerd.
true. I work with most of them.
Are you kidding me? A lot of them are either Democrats.
No. that all depends. No, I wouldn't say 50-year-olds. If anything, I think the older you get, typically the more conservative you get, because you now understand how taxes work and how the government steals from you.
You'd be surprised how many
I
are.
I don't know, man. I work with a lot of senior citizens, and I can count on one hand how many of them are at least vocally pro-Democrat.
Yeah. Well, it's because also age brings more knowledge.
Wisdom.
Like the longer you live, the more you learn, and so that's liberalism kind of requires low information. Like you have to.
It requires a lot of ignorance.
Yeah, which is why
Wow.
children gravitate towards liberalism because they don't have an understanding how the world works. So the idea of like, hey, free healthcare, it's not like that anyone opposes free healthcare. There's just the side that says we can't afford $23 trillion to pay for healthcare, and the side that goes money grows on trees. We can just do whatever we want. Like
Mommy and Daddy will pay for
right,
it.
yeah. It's just so it's funny because then the Democrats will come in and be like, the adults are in the room now. It's like, oh, geez, it's the opposite that is true. You guys are, but we're not going to turn this into a political stream. Sorry.
Nope, we're not. This is mellow Zach time.
One
Get me riled up.
one last thing. I did not know that there actually was a website you can go to see what strikes are currently happening. Apparently, APnews.com. You can just as a link for just looking at current active strikes. I didn't know that auto workers were on strike. But
auto workers are on
my
strike.
Is that why my dad's car is taking so long?
United Auto Workers Union has once again escalated strikes against Detroit 3 automakers. Yeah.
Oh, it's in Detroit.
Yeah.
There's automakers in Detroit.
Yeah, I thought they left in the 80s or something.
Yeah.
Or the 90s. I don't know.
Yeah.
Tehillim says there's a great cast in Hook, and I totally agree.
100% agree.
3 things I remember from Hook. Was the food fight.
Yes.
The kids with the happy thoughts. Smee with the earwax.
Smee was great.
But
my favorite, I quote it every time. My dad's family, they know now not to ask me to say grace over Thanksgiving or Christmas because I've seen Hook. And so if you ask me to say grace, I'm just going to say grace and that's it. Let's eat. So now I never get asked to say the blessing at the big family get-togethers.
Zach, we need to have a talk.
Speaking of Thanksgiving,
we need to have a talk about a man named Jesus. I'm introducing you to him.
Hey, look! I just keep things short and sweet, man. Jesus knows what's on your heart. All you gotta do is just.
Yeah, apparently what's on your heart is not giving him proper thanks for your feast.
Well, speaking of Thanksgiving, anybody gonna go see that new slasher movie called Thanksgiving?
No, probably not.
No.
I'm gonna be too busy lamenting the fact that we could have had Dune Part 2 by now.
I'm just mad that we ever get any more Mr. Bean movies.
You'll live.
Mr. Bean fan.
Austin says, "Dang, I need to watch Hook again." I know I'm kind of feeling the same thing.
Same.
Dominic says, "Bicentennial Man" is an underrated Rob Williams Hook. I don't know if I've ever seen that one. If I did,
I don't think I did either. That's the
if
one
I did,
robot.
If I did, I disagree because it wasn't memorable. But if I haven't, then maybe you're right. Marani says her favorite Rob Williams movie is Bicentennial Man. Okay, there you go. Hook number 2, and then Good Morning Vietnam number 3.
Classic.
I think Good Morning Vietnam is a solid movie, but I never got it quite the way a lot of people did. Like I never really
The people that
understood.
grew up during Vietnam, probably,
Well, no, I mean, well, I guess
or
true. I
like
guess people
were
that
in
grew up in
Vietnam.
Vietnam. No, but I'm saying like when that movie came out, it was a really big hit. Like it was part of the zeitgeist. Like it's kind of what shot Robin Williams' movie career into the you know, and
Wow.
Oh,
and I was like, this is a fine movie. It's like quality movie, but it's not that amazing. But I guess I'm in the minority. Um, and then
I really
Dominic
liked him
asked
in Thor.
earlier, did any of you guys ever read the books from Ronald Dahl? I have not read any of
Ronald,
Ronald Dahl's books.
I'm not familiar with that name.
I believe he's the one that wrote Peter Pan.
Oh, my sister might have. She was a big. She went as into Peter Pan for a while, so she probably read some of the books. She read the Peter Pan books, and I think she read the Wizard of Oz books, which are apparently
Man.
way more demented than the movie.
Wow.
Like the Tin Man actually like cuts out his own heart.
Rip Robert Williams, man. He would have been 70 this year.
Yeah, they had what was it, like a few weeks ago was like the anniversary of his death.
Yeah.
Uh,
I've
Yeah.
been seeing clips of his stand up on YouTube
Oh,
Shorts, Facebook
Ronald
Shorts.
Dahl did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Okay, that is a book. Well, I had it read to me as a
Oh,
kid, but I feel
I do.
having a book read to you is the same as reading it. So yes.
I do kind of want to see that new Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie. It's like the origins of Willy Wonka.
Holy cow, Robert or uh
Ronald
Roald Dahl.
Roald Dahl. Okay.
Roald Dahl. He also, yeah, it's pronounced, it's Roald.
Oh.
I thought it was Ronald, but he wrote Matilda. He wrote
Oh.
BFG. He wrote James and the Giant Peach. He wrote The Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Ooh, that's a good one.
He's done like a lot of things that I've like heard of and know about.
Is he like the children's movie version of Dr. Seuss? Good lord. He's written
Did
a
you know
lot of
he wrote
movies.
another Charlie book? Why are they making all
In the
these
Chocolate
Charlie and the
Factory?
No, it's called Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator.
Oh.
So
Yeah, I
I've
remember
never
that.
heard of that.
Read
so
that
I'm
one.
thinking to myself, they keep making Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movies.
Well, the new one's
they're
supposed
about
be
to make a new one.
Well, it's not about Charlie. It's just about Willy Wonka.
It's
It's
a
like his
Right.
origin story.
Right, fair
It
enough.
actually looks pretty good.
Fair enough.
I kind of want to see it.
My point though is that there is a literal like another book. Why is no one mind this for a movie?
It's
Oh, well.
Charlie growing up, right? In the charge of the factory, I thought.
Oh, is it really?
I think though. I think the sequel is, yeah.
Could
Interesting.
be.
Dude, I read it in middle school. That's a lot that
I
was.
never read it. Oh, there's another
Yeah.
one. Oh no, that's not it. Anyways, so yeah, so no, I have not read any. I did read Charlie Chocolate Factory. I read to me when I was a little kid, and it blew me away. That book was fantastic for 7-year-old Ash. That's the only one.
I noticed everybody was naming all these different Robert Williams movies, but nobody mentioned Patch Adams or Jacob the Liar. I like both those movies.
I didn't see Jacob the Liar.
Patch Adams
Never
was
saw that one.
okay. I never actually was a real big. I thought Robin Williams was fine, but I never really got into a lot of the movies. It wasn't because of him.
Jumanji was his big one.
Yeah, like I didn't get into Jumanji, but it wasn't ever because of Robert. Like it wasn't because of him. It was just like, oh, that movie didn't hit me right. But Robin was fine.
Yeah, but Robin, I loved in Ferngully, man. He was
in
the best.
Ferngully?
Yeah.
Oh. He was.
Well, he was a voice actor.
Well, his best role was the genie from Aladdin, where he was also.
Oh, that yeah. When it comes to voice acting roles,
I will put that up against dude, not just voice acting. I will put that up against any of his live action roles. I would put that up against his character in Good Morning Vietnam. I think that he did that well.
Good Morning Vietnam.
Because the genie, he captured he is the best expression of Robin Williams and his like manic energy, comedic energy.
Yeah, but it's not fair to compare because the animators gave the physical language. Robin Williams didn't do any of that.
True, but you got to think about it. Like he has to well, maybe. I mean, it is a teamwork thing, but you got to figure also he lends his voice to just and he brings the animation to life with his voice. Like you try to do when they tried to get Will Smith to play the genie in the live action, I'm sorry, no real fan of Genie was expecting Will Smith to
Robin
even
Williams
come
also
close.
Robin Williams also more wholesome, too.
I don't know.
I'd say
I've heard some of
everybody
his
else.
stand-up stuff. He's not
Yeah,
that wholesome.
yes. But I'm saying, when he does the genie stuff, he comes up more wholesome.
Good Will Hunting.
Oh
Fantastic.
yeah,
I forgot. He
That
kind
was
of
a
plays
good
like
one.
a small part in that movie, but yeah.
Well, Dead
Yeah.
Poet Society too, as well.
Dead Poet Society. Yep.
Yeah, Dead Poet
He was
Society.
also in Toys. Anybody ever watch that?
Wait, which one?
Toys.
Toys?
1992, same year.
Yeah, Toys.
did
No, I don't remember that one.
Yeah,
Ferngully. Then he did Timekeeper, which is a little short thing. Then he did Aladdin and Toys. We're all in the same year, along with Spinal Tap
Wow.
reunion.
So Austin says, "Here we go again. Ash being too good for animation." I have no idea what you're talking about. I am a massive
His
animation
favorite
fan.
movie is Avatar. He's a huge animation fan.
Right. Here we go.
You know how much animation is in
Of course,
Avatar?
100% animated.
Ash, like I said, Ash loved Ferngully so much he went and saw Avatar.
I love animation so much that I liked both Lion King movies.
Actually, I like all three of them. Lion King and a half.
That's not a movie.
Wow,
I'm talking about the
a true-
theatrical
no.
movies.
Lion King and a half and Lion King 2.
Not
are
directed
legitimate
DVD
movies.
nonsense.
Nope. They're still,
excuse me, sir. It was directed to home video.
Yeah, that's right. That was before DVD. That's right.
Was it? I don't.
Well, at least Lion King 2 was. I think 1.5 did have a DVD. It wasn't Blu-ray yet, though.
Well, yeah.
Imagine if you would have had Robin Williams voicing one of the hyenas in the Lion King. That would be awesome.
I think Cheech and
instead of what was it, Whoopi Goldberg?
Whoopi Goldberg and Cheech were the two that talked. I actually liked them. I thought they were funny.
Yeah, I'm a big animation fan. I used to be
The Rescuers.
I used to be a super fan of Pixar. Like every time a Pixar movie would release, I'd just be like, I gotta see it. I don't care what it's about. It's only the
Pixar
recently.
Used to be good.
They're still, well.
No, they're not batting 100 like they used to.
Lightyear was really head scratcher to me.
Lightyear. I mean, all the Cars movies except for Cars 1.
What?
I didn't care for Cars 2 and 3. I tried. I liked Mater, so I was like, maybe I'll like Cars 2 more than most people. I still didn't care for it.
Okay, Cars 2 was a big step down. No question about it. But I'd said then, I'll say it now. Even Pixar back then, at its worst, was still making better than most anyone else. Like, it wasn't Pixar's normal quality, but it was a solid B-. But Cars 3, I thought, brought it back.
Oh, you think so?
I think so, yeah. And I didn't care. Like, I thought Finding Nemo was kind of overrated, but it was cute. It was still really quality. We just got spoiled because Pixar was like home run,
Yeah.
and when it was like, oh, a double.
Yeah.
That's like a fail.
I saw Finding Nemo. It was interesting.
Finding Dory, I felt like was again, I think that's part of what you were saying. We just got so used to everything being a banger.
Yeah.
Finding
your
Dory
expectations went through the roof.
Same.
Yeah.
Being a kid growing up in the early 90s, watching those early animation movies they had from Disney, all the Disney collection stuff, watching Aristocats.
I love
Oliver and Company.
That was a great movie.
Both Rescue movies.
Rescuers Down Under was my jam.
The Great Mouse Detective.
Yeah, Rescuers Down Under was a good one.
Philo. What was it? American. Was it Philo Goes West or was it?
Oh yeah, but that's not Disney. But
I'm not saying all those different animated stuff coming out.
Yeah, Philo Goes West was really good.
What was the other one?
American Tail, the original.
Yeah, it's American Tail. I'm just trying to get the other ones. Animations are coming out. I watched the freaking Little Mermaid when I was a kid.
I did too.
I cannot watch it again as a grown man because it's not the same as I know. I remember watching it.
Really hard watching Little Mermaid with white skin, isn't it?
Well, the fact that
I get triggered every time.
I get triggered the fact the guy wanted to have sex with a fish. I mean, there's one thing of liking tuna, but I mean that's way too much. Um,
Well, y- see, you're adding sexuality into it. It's a movie
well,
made for little kids.
excuse me, sir. Did you not watch all those things? Those conspiracy thing. There was all this extra adult stuff in the Disney stuff
It's
movies.
When you're
hidden,
a
yes.
child, that goes over your head though.
So Little Mermaid is written where the prince wants to marry the mermaid. But little kids watching it, they're not thinking about sex, or they shouldn't be. So as an adult, you put that, like, we kind of like write that into it because we
I'm just
understand
freaking
like what.
joking though about the whole sex thing.
Oh, okay.
I,
Well, then
I
I'm moving on.
no, no. I'm
Um,
just saying.
Move
I've
on.
heard. I'm just saying. I've heard Under the Sea too many times. I have nieces.
moving on.
That's how
Let
I
it
feel about
let
most
it
Disney projects.
go. Let it go.
That was
Sir,
clever.
you need to
That was
calm
good.
down.
That was good.
Hi, it's
All
me.
right.
I'm the problem.
Speaking of calm, let's get into a comic because we're called late night comics, not because we're comedians, clearly. Um,
Clearly.
clearly, I mean Zach might be, but I'm certainly not. Um, Austin said, "I guess I misinterpreted your meaning. Whenever voice actors were mentioned, it seemed dismissive about it." Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I meant to say that it's just a different type of skill set. Like, not voice actors obviously bring a lot, and I think the genie is one of the great voice acting performances of like all time, for sure. I just it's a different animal. It's it's not tomato. Or sorry, that's not the right
Arr.
metaphor. It's apples and oranges. Okay. So what? Oop, did I lose someone?
I want an apple.
That's weird. I heard someone leave the
What?
chat.
I didn't hear anything.
I know. Whatever. Discord. Um.
I just started watching stream.
Anyways,
No, sorry.
a comic came out called Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. I didn't read it. Zach, did you read this?
I did read this
You read
because
it.
it had Godzilla and Kong and the Justice League. So
No,
yeah, I was
that
gonna
makes
read
sense.
it.
So Venkman had mentioned behind the scenes that he had, was it maybe wanting to talk about this. So I thought I'd throw it up on screen and let you guys keep it brief. Like this is not the main event, but if you guys want to say something about it, plug it away or say whatever you want, and I will um, work the pages behind the scenes.
I'll just say my little quick summary of this is this really felt like Just League Unlimited. Or in a sense where you actually had like they were actually friends, they actually knew each other stuff. You kind of I mean I know Engeltine had mentioned like it's kind of like Super Friends personalities. This really felt like a Godzilla movie. You really don't see much of Godzilla. It's more about the people.
I was gonna say, I was gonna be like, wait a second, and then, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
But like I said, this is going back to classic. You get Hal and Barry kind of goofing off, and like even Diana says like, "Well, gee, maybe they're the ones should be getting married instead of Clark wants to propose to Lois in this timeline." Uh, so there's that. Also, Barry hasn't told Iris that he's the Flash. There's also that in this little pocket world. But I kind of like this. You get Titano. You're like, oh, that's not Kong. It's kind of a fake out, but like, it's Justice League versus Legion of Doom. You throw in Godzilla and King Kong, and like I said, everything just feels so like just everyone's. It's just like it's a very upbeat comic. A lot of comedy in it, a lot of bickering. I'll let Zach shoot his load. Go ahead, Zach.
Yikes.
That was just gross. Yeah, no. So I was excited about it. Was kind of skeptical though because a lot of times we see these kind of comic books, it feels almost like a cash grab, like they're trying to do like Marvel does this now that they own all these different box properties. So like, they try to like make like some mini series, make it a big deal, and it just kind of always feels like really kind of shallow. So I kind of went into this just kind of cautious, but yeah, this was pretty good though. It is true. It's more of a setup issue. It kind of explains like where Godzilla and Kong come into this. Obviously, they're not mainstays in DC continuity. But it does a really good job of setting up things. I like some of the characters they chose to use. They're kind of like not characters that DC uses often. So like it's not something, there's no Joker, there's no Harley Quinn, but you get like Toy Maker or Toy Man or you see, Hal and Barry. I mean, they're kind of normal mainstays. But yeah, no, I thought it was really cool setup. There's some King Kong in here. You see a little bit more of him than you do Godzilla. Uh, the Legion of Doom is always fun to see. Lex being the leader of them and not trying to be a good guy, or even though there are some stories where it's like he seems like he's gonna be good and then he turns out to be bad. I do like just like flat out bad guy Lex. The art was also really good. That's another thing I was kind of cautious about because I'd never heard of the artist before. And so reading through this, I was like, okay, the art style, it's actually really good. It's not like Alex Ross, but he does a really good job. I like a lot of the lines, a lot of the colors. So yeah, I thought it was a good first issue. I think it's like a 3-issue miniseries. Um, which I'm getting I'm burnt out on miniseries, man. But this was a good one though. I really enjoyed it. So I'll be picking up issue number 2.
All right. Speaking of issues that you won't be picking up, number 2.
Oh God, why would you, Ash? Why would you show me that? Why would you show me this thing?
And
People,
this is the bad part about DC is that this is a children's book. Why is this in there?
because clearly, well, I was gonna say clearly this book is not being made for children, but given some people
Godzilla and
across the
King Kong
country.
are usually what draw those children
Yeah,
are
this is
usually.
a book.
And
This is
No, no,
definitely
no.
a
I'm not
book you
talking
would.
about. I'm not talking about Godzilla and King Kong. I'm talking about Green Lantern.
No, but
When
this
he
is
put
Yeah,
that in
in
the
the
shop.
Godzilla and King Kong book.
yes,
Yes,
So the
I
kid's
get
gonna
that.
read
I
the
get that.
comic. He's gonna go, "Oh, look at the cliffhanger! Oh, Godzilla! Oh, can't wait till next issue. Oh, hey, what's this? Oh, okay, Green Lantern. Oh, look, they sodomize each other. Anyways, kids don't use the word sodomize. They don't know what it means. But
A
um,
good reason.
just
Screw
yeah, I
you, Tim
agree.
Sheridan.
It's just disgusting. Like, just if you want to make your filthy comics, go put them somewhere else. But that is Godzilla King Kong. Thank you guys for bringing it. Looks like a fun book. Um, seems kind of
yeah. DC dropped the ball when it came to all their DC books because they were putting the not Jake, but the Alan Scott thing in every single DC book. So I had a guy who's probably around close to Eric's age, in his 50s, the late 60s, early 60s, and he picked up the book and he didn't realize what else, and he's like, "Whoa, what's this?" Because he just opened the book right away. Didn't realize that he's like he had a quick double check to see what book he was grabbing because he was like, "Did I pick up a gay porn book?" Because literally that's what it came off as, and I feel bad for anybody who's a parent and then your kid goes pick up a book. Well, Sonny, I can't get this. Well, why not? Because it has this in the back. I would say rip the fucking pages out.
Or you can just wait until the inevitable trade comes out because they don't put ads in the trade.
Well, I'm not gonna give them the trade of Alan Scott book. That's weird.
No, I'm talking
uh,
about Justice
Nah.
League Godzilla Kong. You can get the
yeah.
trade for that, and
Yeah, I
you
know.
won't have the
Or
ads.
you can just not buy DC Comics. That's probably a
You can
better
just
thing to do. Just like
you
you
can
don't buy
just
Bud
pirate them.
Light or you don't buy Target stuff. Stop buying DC Comics.
Just pirate them.
Um. So, anyways, uh, yeah. I mean, there's nothing super explicit. Obviously, in those preview pages, there's not going to be anything super explicit in the book either. But it's just the fact of like it's clearly grooming. The agenda is super clear. Trying to push. I mean, this community doesn't hide it anymore. That they want to target kids because that's when kids are most malleable. They've admitted it. Um, and it's just sad that these big companies like Warner Brothers, which owns DC, or Disney that owns Marvel, like they're just on board with it. So you have to hold them complicit. If they know that this is an agenda by people that work for them, and yet they keep allowing it, and despite the massive complaints, at some point you have to go, you know what? You're complicit. You want this too. You may not be coming out and saying it, but you could just be saying no. Don't remember like several years ago during the height of the Comics Gate, and like I think it was DC when Marvel was like creators were going ape shit, and then DC came out with their like social media policy, which then triggered, of course, all the creators. But it was like that showed a sign of like the company saying, we're not about this. We understand creators are going to have their own things, but here's our thing, and we're going to make some policies. And I was like, okay, good for you, DC. I'm not going to hold you accountable to everything every single creator says. But if you guys just open the floodgates and you do nothing, then I have to. I have to believe that you condone this. So, sorry, off my soapbox. Void Rivals is one of our feature books for the evening. We all three of us read this. I hope you guys have read this. This is a fun book. Uh, I think. What about you guys? How are you liking it so far?
Excited for the next issue coming out tomorrow.
Is there a new issue tomorrow?
On this week, Wednesday, yeah.
I'm
Is
so
it-
behind. I haven't even looked to see what books are coming out this week.
So, how are you guys? I mean, up through issue
So I'm
4.
enjoying it. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Oh no, definitely. It's a very enjoyable.
So,
I've been liking it a lot.
one of the
Oh,
things
lucky the Lord.
I like about Robert Kirkman, I mean, there's quite a few things, but what I like about Robert Kirkman is his ability to kind of tell a long form story. I don't think he's really good at like, here's one issue story and then it's one and done, or a couple issues. I think where he excels is in writing a long tale like a Walking Dead or Invincible or something, like where you can really like let these characters kind of uh simmer and develop. And Void Rivals, I was enjoying from the beginning, but I wasn't like blown away by it. I wasn't like, oh my god, this is like I was just like, okay, I'm it's entertaining, and I know Robert Kirkman's good, so I'm gonna keeps my interest up. Where's this gonna go? And this issue kind of, for me, pulled back the curtain a little bit and kind of revealed like, oh, okay. Um, what about you guys? Without we'll get into the details of the book, but did did you guys have any specific reactions to it? Was this like better than normal, worse than normal? Like, did it change your thought at all about the series?
It's been one of those, like I said, those just pleasantly surprising, like books, enjoyable. If you like firepower, you like kind of the humor in there. You get some of the humor in here too well, but you also suspense. You know, it's a space adventure. And you know, especially after reading the events of the first issue, you could tell that it's like these these two characters. I don't know if they're gonna go to romance. I don't really care if they do or not. But I mean, like they have somewhat of a understanding for each other. They're supposed to be bitter rivals, but they realize that maybe this whole entire time they've been lied to. And you're just wondering, like, you know, okay, who else knows about this? What's going to happen? Is there going to be a giant world war between the two factions, or are the people going to be, you know, is there going to be a revolution? Uh, we all know is that Jetfire appeared in the first issue. Are they going to further connect to anything like GI Joe or Transformers anymore after this? Or are they standalone thing? What year does this take place in? Is this the future or is this the present day? Because Transformers #1 suggests that this was current year. It's same as Transformers in the 80s. So who knows?
Zach, about
Sounds
you?
good.
Is there any,
Yeah.
before we get into it, like, is there any thing you want to say?
Yeah, no, I liked how it you know, how it kind of opens up the story, kind of just beyond these two pilots. We get a little bit more digging into like the backstory and kind of a little bit of behind the curtain, looking a little behind the curtain, you know, one of the rulers of these two planets that one of them's from, or both of them really. Um so I like that. It kind of does a little bit more of that deep digging. You say, okay, well, these two characters, they're the focal point, but they're not like all there is to this story. And it dives into some secretive dealings that have been happening that involve them, but also involve like their whole worlds too. So I like that kind of expanding upon the world that Kirkman is crafting here.
So let's get into this. Just a summary, real quick, of the book. Where we left off last with these characters is, oh man, I gotta write these characters' names down too. The alien names, I'm so bad. I'm just gonna say
There's
the guy.
dude and there's girl.
Dude
It's
and
they're
girl.
gay, and oh.
So so the guy and the girl, like they're stranded on the planet, and they're rivals. They're bitter enemies, actually. Their world is divided in two, and there's like two factions, and they end up having to like work together to save each other. And of course, through doing so, they formed a bond. And
Eric and Solila.
this story tells a really familiar theme of hatred, and about how hatred really only exists through ignorance. It's very, very hard to hate people that you know, and like, you break bread with, you like it. We're wired to kind of get along. I know people can rub each other wrong, and you can dislike and be annoyed by people, but to truly hate someone, typically you need to like not know them at all. They just need to be sort of a demon in your imagination, as we see what's going on across the world right now with two major factions that are just bitterly hating each other. And it's like neither one knows the other, but they fully hate each other, and it's easier. And so here we see that, and when they come together and see that they're both the same race, like they keep their helmets on. Once they realize, like, hey, we're actually the same. We're not so different. Why should we hate each other? Look, we saved each other. And so I love that theme, number one. Um, and so we left this off, and the guy was betrayed. They're coming back to the planet, and the girl knocks him out, and so, takes over the ship. And we're like, oh no, what's gonna go on? And so we weren't sure if he actually betrayed or what. And I like how the story opens up here, because I had forgotten about there's a third character, Handroid, which is the
Mhm.
glove. And the book explains that Handroid is kind of like can control certain muscles through electrical impulses, kind of like the brain does. Although since it's on his hand, it can't control the body, just pretty much the hand and the arm. And I was like, that's kind of interesting and clever. Like, and I totally wasn't thinking about it. And Handroid picks up this like stunner gun thing, and is telling her this, like, oh, release him, da da da. And then she responds and asking him questions, and then it's like, oh, you can't. How do you see? Because I don't think you see the full gravity of the situation. She's got her spear at his throat, and she's like, if I fall, it's gonna impale him. And so he surrenders. She takes the gun, and they fly. We cut over to Zertonia, which is her race, the Zertonians. And we see basically the leader of the race. And there's a kind of a fun thing where the guy's announcing, stand before Premier Zalalak, the great Vink, blah, blah. And he just goes on and on and on. And finally, the guy's like, enough, speak. He's just the pomp and circumstance. And so the two races are Zertonian and Agorian. The green are the Zertonians. That's who the girl is. And um, and so they're talking about like, hey, there's a ship on the way. It's got the right codes, but we don't recognize it. And then we cut back to these characters. And every time I read the guy, um, I don't know
Eric.
about you guys, but I read him with as like Nathan Fillion. Like his personality, like I just hear him talking. I would be like, if this were an animated show or whatever, I would get Nathan Fillion to voice him if he could. I just I don't know if that's what Kirkman's going for, but he just has this sort of like
Firefly thing.
fire, almost like Firefly. This sort of like, yeah, and also like Castle. If you ever watched that show, um,
Yep.
there's a definite like chemistry here of like two characters that kind of drive each other nuts, but that like
Mhm.
makes the fire burn. Like
That's what confused. I'm like, are they gonna? Is this gonna be like a thing where they kind of like each other, or is this gonna be just be like they're just really good friends?
Yeah. So he's like, "Man, I thought this meant something. I thought we were friends." And she's like, "Friends? No. No. I'm sorry. There's just too much at stake for my people. I will admit, I no longer consider us enemies, but friends? No. More like rivals." And it was like, "Oh, okay, cool. This is where the book now is getting its name. Why is it called Void Rivals?" Oh, okay. I kind of see where Kirkman's pointing the ship now. They're gonna be. It's
We've
gonna be
also
a
seen this.
rivalry.
We've also seen this, and for those who watch Farscape, you had the guy and the girl, who started off as enemies. She tried to kill him multiple times, only to realize that that once her people abandoned her, they're a traitor. They kind of like over time became like lovers. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't care either way. If they're friends or lovers, whatever.
I
I
hope that
just
they're
love the
not
bicker.
lovers. I hope it's like
I love the bickering.
I like
Like I said,
if anyone who's seen Castle lost everything when they put the two characters together. But for like 8 seasons, they were like rivals, and it had a really good chemistry. Um, but so we get to the planet, and she's escorting the prisoner, and it turns out he's a big prisoner because he's the son of an important person. Um, and the people are like, "Oh, look at that! It's an Agorian. He's hideous." And it's like he's got a helmet on, and they're still like, "Oh, And then they're like,
yeah,
"Shield your
yeah.
eyes, dear." Um, and it's kind of a little bit over the top, but like it's evident of like the propaganda that these people have been put under. Um,
Well, it's kind of like this movie you see where you have what we think is disgusting, like we see like monsters, but then you come across a race of monsters, they see human. Oh, the human, it's disgusting. No,
well, here's the thing:
I
they're
love,
both the same
I,
race.
yeah,
So
I know.
it's kind of like in like Nazi Germany when Germans would be like, "Oh, look, it's a Jew, disgusting." Like
But they
they
don't
were
know that they're the same
propagandized.
race. That's the thing. Yeah, they don't
Ex-
know.
they don't know, but even more to the point, it's just a dude with a helmet on. Like, and you're saying it's like you can't even see him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know because if
What
you
I'm
could,
trying to say is like the disgust is in their mind.
yes,
It's not
yes,
that their
it's
mind has been
all.
poisoned.
Yep.
Um, and that's like a lot of times that's where hate comes from, right? Like culture breeds it.
What
You're
we don't
taught to hate
understand,
these people.
we
Yeah. And
we
then all of
fear
a
what you don't
sudden,
understand.
so she presents the leader this gift or whatever, and she admits like she's like, I failed, if I'll accept whatever punishment. Um, and he's like, punishment for bringing us such a gift? And then we turn the page and it's Shockwave. We're like, wait, what? What's going on here? Um, and he's like, what is the meaning of this outrage? And Shockwave is on the pig nose
Well,
guy's ship. And he was
well,
trying to.
they're on Cybertron.
Oh, sorry, they're on Cybertron, and the this guy has brought this other guy. The I don't remember the names of the races, but one of the villainy guys from the previous issue. He's trying to like. Apparently, they're enemies of the Transformers, and he's trying to pawn them off and be like, "Hey, you want a bounty?" And Shockwave has to explain to him they don't. He doesn't have any resources, and
Um,
he can barely. He's like, just get him out of my sight.
Is it Skuxoid?
Yeah,
Maybe. Yeah.
Suxoid. Yeah. So
And then
Shockwave's like, remove
yeah,
this foul creature from my sight before I commandeer your vessel and strip it for parts. He's like,
yeah.
fine, fine.
The alien looking robot, the slave there, that's a quintessent prosecutor. Apparently,
There we go.
I'm going to have a comic, League Comic Geeks.
Yeah.
So
So it's interesting because like right in the middle of the comic book, you're cutting over to Cybertron and you're like, what's going on? It really kind of feels random. We get a little bit of familiarity though because we did see these characters. It makes some connective tissue to this world that is being built and how the Transformers fit in it. And he ends up taking off, and then we get right back to our story. So I like how Kirkman kind of just dabbles, and he's like, "Hey, don't forget, this is the same universe, but back to our story." And this is a
I
really
wonder
good
though.
way.
I'll go quickly. I wonder if there's something else that's going to happen. Because now we know that Shockwave's still on Cybertron. I wonder if that's going to come back later in the Transformers issue.
Oh, I would imagine so because he says a key line here. He says, "What currency would you expect me to have that you haven't already spent on resources? I barely have enough energon to sustain myself. My fellow
Yeah.
Decepticons are in stasis."
Yep.
So clearly, it seems to me like from the Transformers book that we covered on the show, there's only a
Yep.
few of the Transformers on Earth. Someone's going to be coming back probably to free their friends. So we have more characters in the Transformer book. But we cut back to the story, and all I wanted to say was I really appreciate that like Kirkman understands how to like maintain continuity. You don't always have to like have crossovers and big team ups and stuff. Just little subtle reminders like, hey, these characters are operating in the same universe, like, um, and I really appreciate that. So we get back to the story, and the Supreme Leader is talking to the girl, and you know, and she kind of slips and says like, he's like, he won't be harmed, and she's like, good, and he's like, good, and she's like, I only mean that I'm happy to know he will not be harmed. You care for the Sigorian? No, no, of course not. But our ship's crashed. She kind of slipped, and he's just staring her down, and then he looks at her and says, "In all your time with the Sigorian, tell me, did you ever see his face?" And then she's just like, "Gulp." And then the next we see, the dude is chilling in the cell, and he's talking to his android, and he's like, "Hey, can we escape?" And then they kind of realize, like, wait, we wouldn't have left me on your hand if it was possible to escape. He's like, "Yeah, we'll just chill here. It's better than dying in deep space." And so they're having kind of some witty banter. It's kind of fun. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, someone's coming, opening the door. The door opens, and then the girl gets tossed in, and he's like, wait, wait a minute, what's going? And then the door slams shut. What happened? Why are you here? They know about us. I'm so stupid. I didn't tell them, but the premier asked if I had seen your face, and he just knew. And so he's just there. I was like, he didn't
You double
bother to
crossed
ask.
me.
He didn't ask to
Well, that's
bother what, like, look my face. He's like, no, he just knew. He's like, wait, you double cross me, and look at you. Look what it got you. And he just starts laughing.
yeah. This is a Nathan Fillion thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm just like, oh, I hate you. It's just,
I
I
almost
could
wonder
just,
if I almost wonder if the leader is her father. Because like his father is the other guy.
uh, well, that part hasn't been revealed yet,
No, not
but
yet.
yeah, I don't think so. That seems to be too on the nose. Um, but she's definitely, I mean, she's one of the elite soldiers of this race. And so we see the leader now. He's going down in this dark place in the secret room, and he takes off his helmet, and he's like, I can't speak long on this channel. What is it, Zillalak? And he's like talking to this mysterious person. You're like, what's going on? I kind of guessed what was going to happen, but I still think it was a cool reveal. And they're talking. He's like, look, this is what happened. He basically tells the story of what happened, and we got these and everything. And
Considering
I
who the
thought it
pilot
best to
is.
personally reach out to
Yeah.
you to discuss how to handle this matter, considering who the pilot is. Who is he? And then you get to the reveal, and we see he's your son, Minister Doolin. So the two leaders of these planets who are bitter hatred of each other, and no one knows, right? Because they all wear masks and they're not allowed to reveal. So, and that was the whole thing. Like when these two were trapped on a planet, they revealed the mask, and they were like, "Wait a second, you're the same race as me. What's going on?" The whole time, the leaders of the government have known this, and they're working together. And to me, like, I kind of guessed that this would happen, but it was so satisfactory to me, um, because this is the end of the issue, and I'll let you guys talk after this. This was so satisfactory to me because this is how I think you do politics and comics right. You talk about ideas, not like parties. You don't like, there's no Democrats or Republicans in this book, but there's just ideas about like oppression and tyranny that are very generic. One of my favorite writers, George Orwell, wrote 1984, Animal Farm, two fantastic books. If you've never read them, you need to put them on your list. Um, did that really well too. He was able to talk to you about ideas without bringing like the real world politics in it. And here we can see some parallels. We see in our world, right, that at least I believe, and I think probably a lot of people do, believe that like the higher ups, the billionaire oligarch class, kind of know things that the people don't, and they manipulate society to like profit them at the expense of the rest of us. Now, whether as a Democrat or Republican or whatever, that's neither here nor there. This is just simple tales of humanity, and obviously these guys are bad guys. Like the whole people are like at war with each other, And the two leaders of each race are working together secretly, and they know that the other, they know the identity, like there's no masks. And so I thought that was really telling, that the hypocrisy of oppression. It's themes that resonate really well to me. But RDV, why don't you give your thoughts?
Oh, alrighty. So, like, yeah, as far as I had an idea that that's they were gonna run into somebody that the whole thing. I didn't know it was gonna be his dad, but I mean, I figured it was gonna be someone higher up in the ranks, whether because they had to get through here somehow. And I'm just wondering, how long has this grudge been going? How old are these people? Did they age like normal, like us? Or are they like Superman? Takes them forever from the age. And is this a guy, Cadefield and McCoy's grudge that's been going on for decades or generations? Or is it something that's recently happened? Because I remember in the first issue they say exactly when this happened. But what like I said, what's gonna happen? I'm just so curious. What's gonna happen with this series? Because it can only go for so long before people find out the truth. And this seems like the story where these people are gonna read the two kids, or adults, so they're gonna lead a revolution. And really, I said it really just feels like you bring up Nathan Fillion. I've thought about John Crichton, from Farscape, or just even Peter Quill, Star Lord,
Yep.
and just I'm just kept thinking it's like this is a clever plot, but where does it end? And how long is this gonna go? I mean, I'm excited for it. The art is fantastic. I love the background with the stars.
Yeah.
It's simplistic, and that's all you really need. You don't need, they could easily just do a black page, and then having like normal. But I mean, like I said, I love the detail. Um, this I would love to see this as a cartoon.
Yeah.
It just really feels like it really, if you're being in the Transformers universe, it feels like an '80s TV show, doesn't it? A
Yeah.
cartoon.
Yep. Yep. I've said that. I remember, I think on the first episode, how it had like a
Yeah,
Saturday morning cartoon kind of feel to it.
and yeah. So I said I really hope they continue this. This kind of storytelling is what is one of the reason why I've been enjoying those uh Saturday morning cartoon Ninja Turtle books, because it just feels like it's just set in a very simplistic but yet compelling storytelling.
Now, I will say that this issue, in my opinion, felt a little less like the Saturday morning cartoon, a little bit more the serious side that you might see in like Walking Dead, where he's telling like a serious like society, like sociological
More
message.
like Mandalorian. Look more like early first season Mandalorian.
Mm,
Consequences.
maybe. But I also like that you mentioned Peter Quill. I do feel like the relationship between these two is very very similar to Star Lord and Gamora from the MCU. Which Zach, you're a big Star Lord and Gamora fan. What do you think?
I am. Yeah, no, definitely. Kirkman is kind of you can sense he's kind of channeling that kind of space cowboy scoundrel type of persona onto the lead guy here. I actually really like the Handroid, the back and forth, the banter between the two of them when he's in the jail cell. So that is a real fun scene, and it's a real fun character. Yeah, I think this might be, as far as world building goes, I feel like this might be the best issue so far for that. Um, Mainly because we see a bunch of stuff like we know, before we knew that only these two characters, the rivals, they were the only ones that we knew that their races looked similar to each other. But then as we read through this one, we find out, oh, well, her planet's leader knows that they look the same. And oh, we get to the end. Oh, he's communicating with his planet's leader and he's not wearing a helmet. So he knows they look the same. It ends up being, becoming this big, multi planet conspiracy. And I do agree what you were saying with like, I think that this is a good way to showcase how politics can be in comics without highlighting, Republicans or Democrats or conservative or liberal. And actually, I think I don't know. This feels like the second or third time I've been seeing actually really good examples of using politics and storytelling
Uh-huh.
in indie books. I feel like there's been a good amount of that recently, which I applaud. If you can do it right, then I'll applaud it. So yeah, I think this was a really good issue. These planetary leaders that they have, like her planetary leader seems like this big threatening guy. If he's going to be like an actual physical villain, like they have to fight later on, I think that would be really cool to see. The artwork has been stellar. I just like it more and more. The colors, particularly, I really like the job that the colorist is doing. Um, yeah, no, I'm enjoying it though. A lot more than I thought that I would be. I mean, I knew I was going to enjoy it because it's Robert Kirkman, and I'm a pretty big fan of Kirkman stuff. But when it was announced that there'd be like this whole Transformers GI Joe shared universe, I kind of expected this to take the low place on the totem pole, but it's been holding up really well. I've been enjoying it a lot.
Did you have a favorite moment of the book?
Uh, favorite moment of the book, Soundwave. Seeing Soundwave is always really cool.
Shockwave.
Shockwave, not Shock. Oh, that's Soundwave.
Soundwave's cassette player.
Soundwave is my favorite. Shockwave is also good. But yeah, no, that was really cool because I wasn't expecting to see another Transformer. Let
Right. This
alone
like
on
comes out of nowhere.
Cybertron.
You're like reading the book. You're like, oh, okay, good. And you turn the page. And you're like, wait, what the hell's this? What's going
Wait, what
on?
happened? Did I skip a page?
Yeah.
Did I get a messed up copy? No. So that was fun. I could have lived without seeing the little pig
Well,
alien again.
you
He
know,
reminds me of those things that
I'm
guard Jabba's
so
palace.
glad though because I felt like they would have been a throwaway character. They were kind of pointless, given the ship. But the fact that they're coming back means that they're gonna play a bigger role.
He doesn't need a bigger role. He can go back to Jabba's palace.
I don't think he's
Wow.
going to play a bigger
Not-
role. I think he
not-
serves. I think what he is serving is connective tissue.
He's
Zach,
connective tissue. He's
Zach,
glue.
Not
Yeah.
not every pig character are the same. You species.
He's a pig in space. Okay, if he's not guarding Jabba's palace, then he belongs on the Muppet Show.
Why is, wow.
Wow.
And then the Mars Attacks extra can.
Well,
can
it's
go
it's,
back to
it's,
Mars
it's
I don't
good.
know.
It's
I
good to
gotta say,
know that the racism continues to alien species.
I just gonna say I love all types of bacon.
But anyway, yeah.
all
no,
bacon matters.
Yes.
All bacon matters.
If bacon
in
me hungry.
Belly, in my belly, it does. Yeah, no. The whole issue was really good. Though I did like. You did highlight the series, the panels where he's in the cell after she gets thrown in there for double crossing him, and he's just like laughing at her. And actually, the whole like where she goes, "I hate you." I know a lot of people found that comedic, but I was just like, "Oh dang!" I actually felt a little bit of sympathy for her because I mean, don't get me wrong, she did do the guy dirty and try to double cross him.
Totally dirty.
The body language, though, it's like she's isolated, she's alone, she has to like huddle up. I was like, I kind of felt some sympathy for her there. So good on the artist for that use of body language.
What about you, RDV? Did you have a favorite scene or moment?
My favorite scene is actually the one you talked
Batista.
about.
That face right there, is that not Dave Batista?
Drive
could be, yeah.
It's you take a still of his face and you just stretch it a little bit from
To
left to right.
me, it looks more like what's this guy, Chicklick, or his name is Mike, or the guy from
Michael Chiklis.
Yeah, Michael Chiklis
from The Shield.
Yeah. But my favorite scene is where she gets thrown in the jail and he's like, "Really? You did this?" He just laughs. Just a little bit because that really is a Nathan Fillion scene too.
Yeah.
Or and I got a feeling that James Gunn's Star-Lord is based off a little bit of Nathan Fillion's character in as far as the humor goes. Possible. Might have been a homage to it. Anyway, though, a nod. But I mean, so I love. She's like, "I hate you," and like that's. I mean, I'm just waiting for them to like, break out now and see what's going to happen.
So I like this scene too. This is also my favorite scene. And I like it for a number of reasons. I think it plays really well. It adds to that chemistry. It adds to the rivalry part that he's going to be pushing. It seems like the name of the book's called Void Rivals. So I intend to, if you're going to name your book, put rival in the name of it. You got to keep that going for a while. Otherwise, why'd you name it that? Um, I
Yeah.
liked it. I like that he's laughing at her because she does deserve it. But to Zach's point, you do feel a little bit of like a little bit of sympathy for her because she did show some humanity. Like she didn't want him to be harmed or whatever, and she did apologize when she turned him in. She's like, "Look, I have to. Like this is bigger than you. Like it's not about like you're my enemy. It's just that my whole world is dying. Like doesn't matter if you're my friend or not. Like I gotta this is a bigger." So I kind of saw from her perspective, it wasn't like she was just being a jerk, but she had to make the tough choice and she decided that, this is right. And she's
I,
been deceived, right? So I feel a
yeah.
little sympathy from her. And I think that's good. When you feel emotion, and 1 minute I'm kind of laughing with him, going, "Aha, you get what you deserve."
I,
And then another minute I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that
an-
sucks."
yeah. Another really cool thing observation is that when they draw her and they act, just her poses, it's very female, very
Yeah.
emotional.
Yep.
I love that. Her just pose with her one leg up, cut her head down, saying "I hate you" real
Yep.
quietly. Have that. That is spot on. How a female would react. Like I said, I love the fact that they're not. This is not a woke book. It's been a woke book. She wouldn't show any kind of like this at all. Nothing like
Yes.
no,
Great
no,
point. You
no
made it
female heretics.
you made it before I could. Great point. Um,
Yeah,
I wanted,
yeah,
yeah, I really respected this scene where, in a woke book, he would be laughing at her and then she would just show him up or something and just be
yeah.
like unaffected. And it's like, no, she's emotional. She has got feelings. And more importantly, she can fail, right?
Yes.
Clearly in this dynamic, it's a little bit like I was kind of annoyed in the very beginning of the first issue of just like, oh, look, here we go again. The girl's the strong one, the fighter, the man's not. But she's one of these elite warriors. He's a pilot. Pilots aren't trained to fight. That makes more sense. And getting to see her not just be like a total badass at everything, like no, she's got flaws and she
It's
clearly here she makes a huge mistake and now she's thrown in jail from her own people. Um, so I like that. I like that very much.
I mean, I kind of like going back to the whole Gamora, dynamic, with Star Lord. Like, if she shows a development, she's like, "You tell anybody, I'll kill you." It's usually a threat like that. So I'm surprised they didn't throw anything like that in here. But this works really well too, as well. Uh, her just kind of like, kind of like sulking a little bit. But I like how she did. I think it's the next page. She kind of roughs him up a little bit, or the page before that.
No, she doesn't rough him up. It's only at the very beginning.
The very beginning, yeah, where she kind of roughs him up, picks him up.
Well,
Right,
here
right here, yeah.
because he says
You know,
something about like something about I get it, you guys are desperate. You're sending warriors to do a pilot's job. That's not info that you want us to have. And then she's like, "Hear me. If
you
you
know,
want to survive what comes next, you keep that part to yourself. You know nothing
his
about me. Understand?"
his reaction with her finger pointing and just kind of like, okay, sure,
Yeah.
uh huh.
And he's like, "Not even, especially that part." And it's clear that she's kind of insinuating like that we've seen each other's faces. Don't you can't. Our helmets have been on the whole time. Trust me on that. I will only share what I learned with those that I'm sure I can trust. And he's like, and you know who that is, right?
Working
She's
that
like,
out.
I'm working that out. And he's like, oh, um, and so clearly she's in over her head. This
Yeah,
is a giant conspiracy. Like she's
very
trusting her
bossy.
people, and it's one of
Yeah.
those. This is like one of those like red pill moments, like that she's about to have. Like her government is obviously on some level corrupt, but she's like a faithful like soldier, and she's doing the right, honorable thing for her people, and she's
Mhm.
betraying her friend to do it, and it ends
I
up
love that ship.
as a cool looking ship.
I know.
Um, So yeah,
Where's my
this
model?
is not the greatest comic on the shelf, but it's purely satisfying. Like Robert, excuse me, Robert Kirkman, he just does that for me. Like I just enjoy his books. It's almost like comfort food. I think I said that about Firepower. Like Firepower is another example. It's not a book that blows me away every issue, but it's like I just look forward to coming back to it issue after issue after issue. It doesn't really ever disappoint, you know? It's just like a nice warm bowl of mac and cheese.
Yep.
Good.
All right. This is just a preview of Transformers, which we already covered. Here's the cover for the next issue. So, looks like someone's helmet's going to be taken off. Um,
There's
any final thoughts before we get to the main event?
I'm just saying that's cover I'm going with. That's going to be on my thumbnail this week for tomorrow. Or actually, not tomorrow. Later on tonight at 8 p.m. Central. For those who are in the 1 o'clock or Eastern time. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I get Star Wars vibes.
Yeah, I do like the whole space opera stuff. I hope it doesn't
Oh,
ever
yeah.
come to Earth. Like I just
And
keep it in
who's-
space.
Yeah,
and
I
who's the
really don't
creature-
need them to crash land on Earth by accident. I
And
don't need
who's
that.
the creature behind him?
Better
Well,
not be that space
that's
pig.
Chewbacca.
What's you doing space pegs? You hate space pegs, bro.
I'm sorry. It reminds me of Jabba's bodyguards, and like, who needs them?
Wow, they're called Gamorrean guards.
I know what they're called.
I hope it said
That
that.
was the test.
I hope it said
You
that
passed.
that blue character from was it Imaginary Friends? Or it's called
Wait, what?
Wayward Imaginary Friends. Was on Cartoon Network or something like that.
Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends?
Yeah, that one. Yeah, I hope it's blue.
All right. Speaking of
Maybe get the
imaginary
name of the
friends,
show right.
I watched like 2 episodes, Joe. The fact that you'd actually remember it, that's more.
Rhaegar says
true.
the book is like pumpkin spice for the nerd soul. There we
You know
go.
what? I'll allow that because every year I make fun of how pumpkin spice is a white girl drink, but doggone it holds up. It's actually really good.
If you say so.
Quote me, I don't care. I said
I
what
don't
said.
hate pumpkin spice. I think it's it gets a little overdone every
Yeah,
October,
it's
but
overhyped, but it's still good.
it's fine. I was at some place and I ordered a pumpkin spice something, and the waitress was like, "Oh, you gotta at my birthday, my buddy took me out to dinner, and went and had a steak dinner, and then at the end for dessert, I was gonna order a White Russian because that's like my favorite drink, and the waitress like, "Oh, we got a pumpkin spice White Russian. It's amazing," and I was like, "All right, well you're freaking out about it. I like White Russians. Let's try this thing." And nope, not good. Don't ever order the pumpkin spice White Russian. That was fail. The oat milk one I made just now was better.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it didn't cost $10. You know, it's like, and I mean the oat milk one wasn't nasty. It was fine. I would prefer regular milk. This, speaking of nasty, Big Game is not that. Big Game
Whew.
is amazing. This book, I do not understand how Mark Miller is going to stick the landing of this book. This is issue 4 of 5. I feel like issue 5 needs to be like a 80-page giant.
Double-size.
Like,
Yeah.
because, and I said this to him on Twitter and he responded to me. I was like, there's only 2 issues left. Like, how are you going to wrap this story up? And I hadn't read this issue yet. This issue does not wrap things up at all. It it opens up a whole new can of worms. And you're just like, wait a second, what? Now you're going to wrap that part up too in one final issue? I don't see how he's going to do it. I'm suspecting there's going to be some level of like to be continued. We'll wrap up some parts and then it'll kick into something new. What do you guys, before we get into the details of the book, how are you enjoying it or not enjoying it?
Who is not enjoying this? I want to punch them. Maybe reconfigure their brain.
Well,
That sounded a little violent. All right, so first of all, I just looked up issue number 5 is going to be like a 52-page book. So it
All
will
right.
be a double-sized book.
Okay.
So that's good news. Or bad news, considering how crazy the last 4 issues
you're
have
sure
been.
it's not big news?
Boom, boom.
Oh Lord, I'm holding my head in my hands as you say that joke. I'm
Well,
so sad I didn't think
it's
of
a
it
good
first.
time because you're ready. You're ready for Halloween, bro.
Huh?
If you're holding your head in your hands, you're
Headless. Oh, okay. No, this book has no right to be this good. I haven't enjoyed an event crossover. Marvel and the big two have just burned me out on crossovers.
Yep.
I mean, everybody I feel like that's watching this or is in the chat, I feel like we've all experienced crossover fatigue, burnout. I think the last time I enjoyed a Marvel event was like a Hickman book back in 2014, maybe. It wasn't even Secret Wars, so it might have been 2013 or 12. God, it would have been way back there before Secret Wars.
yeah.
But the
Wait,
fact that Mark
you didn't
Millar,
enjoy Secret Wars?
I liked Secret Wars. It wasn't my favorite of
Oh,
Hickman's
okay.
books, but I did enjoy it.
Okay.
He did
Which
another
one-
one called
which-
Infinity,
Which
which
one is
was
Secret Wars? Is that the one with the Doom and White?
yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
overrated.
I don't know if it was overrated. It was good, but there was another one he did called Infinity. It was mainly just an Avengers story in space. That one was really good, but regardless, that's not important. Millar, what he's managed to do here, first of all, taking his entire library of books and putting them all in one world and making me interested in all these characters I hadn't even thought of before, like Prodigy and Huck and Empress, and just making this whole world with all these characters and just the story that he's been telling, and just as jaw-droppingly gruesome as the body count has been.
What?
It's just really, really fun. And then also there's just like, it's like that Game of Thrones Walking Dead factor where it's like nobody is safe. And so you kind of hate it because your favorite character could be next on the chopping block, but then
Yes,
you
dude.
also love it.
There were moments in this book where I was literally like, "Oh no, he's gonna die!" Like I was like, "Oh," like just
Yeah.
multiple times where I was like, "Oh no,
Yep.
they're gonna
For
kill
me
this
though,
guy."
for me, a lot of other people, this felt like this whole entire series kind of just felt like an extension of Nemesis. Nemesis
It
going
is
around.
Nemesis is like the
everybody.
prelude. Is definitely like
And
the
I
prelude to
gotta
this.
say, this was such a nice little plot twist because it's getting to the point where someone's gonna die this issue, and then blah blah blah. Okay, it's to the point where it's becoming redundant.
Yeah.
But the fact that this, I said, the end plot, the twist and everything,
Yes.
was actually really cool. The way I said, even when we get into this, the way this starts, the very
Yes.
first page,
Yes.
is nuts. We get to learn more about who this character is. Just the cover alone, this is menacing. This character.
This
Like,
cover
you
is so menacing. It reminds me
I-
of like back when X-Men was good and you'd have like Apocalypse on a cover and you're like, "Oh my god, what's gonna happen?"
Yeah.
It's go ahead.
Like I said, the fact he's got a dinosaur in the background,
Yeah.
like this dude is uber powerful. He's got a pet T-Rex. The T-Rex won't mess with him. It's kind of like Kraven the Hunter. Instead of having a tiger as his bodyguard, he has a T-Rex.
Yeah, and they're like she's like 60 billion years BC, like or something. Like she's not 60 billion, but
65, whatever.
60 million. Like she's in the prehistoric past. Like there's
Yeah,
this dude. It's like,
and-
why are you here?
Yes, yeah. And then you find out where this is because and just finding out who these people really are.
Dude.
They each have their own personality backstory too, kind of like that
Yes.
too. It's
So,
characters. Let's just
we're
jump
gonna
right
we're
into
gonna
it.
get into it. And if you guys are
Yeah.
listening, I don't want you to leave the live stream. However, we're gonna spoil one of the best books that that's out right now, and this is such a great event. Like, and it's been so good for 3 issues, and this one just took it to like a different direction. It was just like, oh, you thought you were following this story, you weren't even prepared. This one I was not prepared. So you guys now are prepared to know whether you want to be spoiled and miss out on the
Be like Jeremy
experience.
Irons. Be prepared.
Yeah. So here's the credits. This is pretty. I really think this is a kind of a eye-catching credit page. So very moment opens up. We remember that Hit Girl she had went back in the past and she's in dinosaur age, and there was dinosaurs coming to get her, and so we open up right where we left off, and dinosaur gets one right in the head 65 million years ago. And then she's like, what the fuck? Totally didn't expect that, because there should not be intelligent life, but there is. And all of a sudden we see this like warrior princess lady who clearly has different color skin. Not sure if she's human or not, but she speaks English. And then it's like, don't worry, peasant, I got him. Your life has been saved by Princess Princess Ain. I don't know how to pronounce it. You may kneel now and accept my royal blessing. You're just like, she's like, huh? And I just
love that bottom there.
Her reaction is like the audience reaction. You're like, what? And then, yeah, and she's like, I said, kneel and accept my blessing, woman. You stand in the presence of King Morax's daughter. Have you forgotten your manners? And she's like, what year is this?
Also, real quickly, her reaction saying like, what the fuck, basically was kind of like you saw her in the movies. Same thing with the girl.
Yeah.
It was right in character.
And here's the thing. As if you're an audience member and you followed Kick-Ass books, Hit Girl is no slouch. She causes worry in the main villain. So, they end up drawing guns on each other. She's like, if I'm this far back in time, how come there's people around? I would advise you to lower your weapon. My trigger finger is faster than yours. How do you even know what I'm saying? And just the way Mark Millar is like doing his dialogue here, he's not using the expository writing stance where he's explaining what's happening. He's just letting the characters talk, and the audience gets what's happening. And the artist, man, Pepe Larraz is just drawing some of the best stuff he's ever drawn in his career. And we all of a sudden we get this one character who just out of nowhere, like, why am I? And now I'm fascinated with this character. Why is she so pompous and arrogant? And she's talking to Hit Girl. I immediately want to know more. Go ahead, RDB.
I was just saying real quickly, with the whole translator's like, she replies, how do you know what I'm saying? Like, well, duh, universal translator. It goes back to those who read Invincible. Same thing when he meets the alien guy, the orange guy. He's like, what? Your people you don't have one of those? Primitive.
Yeah.
It's like, I just love that kind of humor in the books.
Yeah. So, her captain of the guard or whatever ends up shooting Hit Girl in the back, but it's like a stun. And she talks, so he's getting an idea who this is. No, but I'm glad you stunned her because my dad's going to want to know. And clearly we can guess who her dad is. And then we see them journeying back. And now remember, this is 65 million years BC. And look at this metropolis in the middle of, like, you're like, wait a second. My mind immediately went to, where has this been hidden? Like, how come, like, 65 million years later, this doesn't exist?
I go to Ambassadors.
Ambassadors. So anyways, we move along, and then we see these two characters in the court of King Morax. And it's like, are you pleased with us, sire? You killed 1 billion of your people at my command, Erwin. Brought peace to the sector long thought ungovernable. Your homeworlds fear you, and this is good. But pleased is a word preserved for my family. Let's just say I'm satisfied. I'm like, man, this is how I wish Thanos was written. Like, Mark Millar is just dunking all over Marvel with his book. It's like, this is how it used to be. It's like, as I'm reading this, I'm like, this is how it used to be. This is how it used to be done. But we don't get it. We have to turn to these side books. He's like, now, before I appoint any grand marshals, there's one more thing I would like you to do. Don't worry, master, I understand. And he kills his buddy. You're just like, what? And he's like, Talos the sorcerer, why would you do this? And he's like, well, that's what I thought you wanted me to do. And the other guy, then the leader is just like, well, actually, I was just going to offer you a refreshment, but I kind of like you. That's when the daughter walks in and she introduces the prisoner and explains that she's got a time thing and blah 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 blah. And then we get kind of another reveal that she says like, because this sorcerer guy, he can like probe her mind to see what's going on, and he reads her future, like her present day, it's their future, and explains like, this is what's going on. It's your world, but there's no trace of you anywhere there. So like he's been written out, like, so basically Earth at one point, this is his world, and he had conquered it or ruled it or whatever, but somehow all of it was undone, and now there's no trace in this future, and he's pissed. He's like, in my own world? He's like, take me there now so I might dominate these curs. And then Hit Girl, who was being kind of respectful, because, you know, he's just like, were you even fucking listening? The chronosuit is out of charge, you dipshit. That's how I got stuck here. Oh, I just love how the dialogue changes. And he's like, we have no more need of this strange, unpleasant woman. Take her away for execution, because they get the suit operational. And then the daughter's like, but Dad, she wasn't here to cause trouble. She was escaping. And then he's like, if you're going to be a ruler, you need to be less sentimental. And then Mom shows up. Now, this is one of the Miller books, excuse me, unfortunately I've never read. I believe it's called Empress. I really want to read it now because I want to know more about this guy. And she shows up and says, do as my husband says. As my husband says, Captain, his word is gospel on this world. So he says, your wish is my command. So he takes her out to be executed. And Hit Girl's like, you know, he's going to just kill you too, right? You and everyone else in that room. I've seen his type before. He's a grade A fucking psychopath. And he's like, man, would you just be quiet for a second? I'm trying to do this as discreetly as possible. So he gets it. He's going to free her. And so he does and says, look, you just got to go away. You can never come back. There's a village, blah, blah. And she doesn't have time for this. So she kicks him in the face and is like, look, sorry, but I gotta go back home and save my people. And so then we see the techno scientist is trying to decipher the suit and power it up or whatever. And Big Baddie says, take as many of my ships as this orange corpse can carry and come back when you've crushed these ingrates. I've already conquered the outskirts of space. It's only right that time should be the next to fall. This guy's just pure, like, it's just like Miller's going, I can't write Thanos, so I'll just make my own. And so we get to see like his fleet, and then we see Hit Girl sneaking in. She's taking a disguise, and she gets on the ship. And then we cut back to Earth, 2023. And I thought this was like a really cool looking carrier. Pepe Larraz just drawn the cool ships. Like I love when artists can draw like machinery or vehicles and things like that. And do stuff that's like out of your imagination. Like this obviously is not a real thing. It just I'd really get into the design and the concepts and stuff. And then we hear this, what do you mean you missed your bus, Dave? This is insane. And then we see, I thought this was a cool reveal too. We see what looks like Kick-Ass walking, to this party that's on the ship, which we heard from the previous issue about how all the superheroes are being gathered together, which and me as a reader, I was like, it's a trap. Like what? And I'm like, oh no, there's Kick-Ass. Oh no, this is bad. And then you find out that no, Kick-Ass missed his bus. He's the one on the other end of the phone. And he's like, man, don't make me feel worse than I already do, Todd. I was heading for my bus when the old lady needed help, blah, blah. And the gang, it's just Dave Lazowski's life. That's the way it is. And so this guy, Todd, apparently is his pal, and he dresses up in the opposite color, like reverse colors of Kick-Ass. He's wearing a similar costume, and this is a part where I was like, "Oh no," because I like at first I thought, "Oh no, Kick-Ass. I don't think Kick-Ass is gonna die, but maybe he will." I was like, oh, "Okay, they could bite it because it's this guy Todd is definitely toast." But then you see Duke McQueen, and I'm like, "No, not Duke McQueen, no." Um, and then he's like, tell him they said Superior was coming back and they're standing, so Superior is gonna be there, and then the Mount MPH guy. And so then there's the third um, nightclub character. What's his name? Sam. Was that his name?
Yeah, it's Sam. He's the one
Yeah.
that betrayed them, and left them, was going to create his
Yeah.
own team.
And so I'm like,
he looks. So the artist makes him look very much slimmer in here, which I thought was funny.
yeah, a different artist. And so they're like, oh, wait a second, here's somebody, and we we turn the page, and it's like, oh shit. And I love how the character once again says the thing that the audience is thinking, because that's immediately the first thought in my head. I was like, oh shit. And then I remembered, oh yeah, Nemesis has powers. He's got all the ambassador powers.
Yep.
So he's like, can you feel that? That's an ultrasonic signal I just sent out to each of you individually. You guys must be in a lot of pain. I'm just like, oh man, here it comes. And he gets the nightclub guy, and he's like, man, what would they think if they knew you were a vampire, Sam? Do you think they want superheroes who drink human blood? He just pulls off his mask. It's all yours, sir. And then Wesley shows up and just starts laying waste, killing them all. And Wesley explains, like, my father's generation, which just to see that, go read Wanted. Just let them grow too big. And the trick here is with the superheroes is to nip them in the bud. That's his little theory. And you're just like, oh my goodness. And so he's like, and then the Nemesis is like, I don't know why you even keep them around. Surely you can run all this with AI and a few million slaves. And then Wesley says, yes, but where would the new innovation come from? There are brilliant minds all among all the dross. Thanks to Chun Hee, who is behind the girl that made the ambassadors, thanks to Chun Hee Chung's new technology, we can live forever. Thanks to the chrononauts, we can travel through time. Who knows what the next, what the sheep may give us next? And then we see at this moment, we're like, wait a second, what the hell? This is the girl from
Magic Order.
the Magic Order. And you're like, oh shit. She's like, fuck this prick. And I'm like, what? Wait. And then
again dressing what we're saying. Everybody hates Nemesis.
Yeah. Well, this is Wesley. Yeah. And so
it's like,
and so you see that she's kind of like seeing him in a vision. She's not actually there. And then it's one of those good reveals again that Mark Miller is just so good at doing. She's like, I'm doing it, Charlie. I'm taking this guy out right goddamn now. Which goes to what I was saying before about how the Magic Order is a super. She doesn't even need to be there. She could literally just wave her wand and kill this guy. The Magic Order is OP, which of course means Mark has to find a way to make them not be in the story. I get it, and he does a really good way, and we get it. It's like, don't talk crazy, Cordelia. You know better than anyone what happens when we break the rules. And he explains about how their jurisdiction, they're only allowed to deal with the magic stuff. Humans doing human things, no matter how despicable, is off limits. And she's just like, she can't handle it. And someone tries to cheer her up, saying, you can only hold the truth back so long, Cordelia. Nothing lasts forever. Every empire takes a tumble in the end. Well, okay, that's hopeful thinking. And then we see Fox talking to Wesley. He's like, what are you thinking? And he's talking about the time jump, and he's worried about Hit Girl. Like, even though she's stuck in 65 billion or 65 million BC, he's like, I'm still thinking about her. And Fox is like, she'll be lying in a 1,000,000-year-old ditch. Everyone else is being incinerated. You've won, Wesley. The world can go back to their drugs and their porn and their entertainment news. All the loose ends have been tied up. So why do I feel this knot in my stomach? And this is a moment that, I'll get to when we talk about this thing, but this is a moment I really liked. And then we move on. We move on from that. What?
The bottom panel, Philadelphia Experiment.
Yeah, that does look. So then we move on to the next scene, and we see the ship sailing, and then this weird portal starts hitting in the sky, and Thanos' fleet shows up. You're just like, oh damn. And that's the end of the oh no, it's not the end of the issue. It's so we get one more page and we see the techno priest is like, because you know how all this ends. And he's got the Chrononaut dude like up front, Mad Max style.
So gory.
Yeah,
These
just
dead corpses. Yeah.
yeah, just what, and it's to be continued. And what a freaking chapter. Just because you're like, okay, this story is like the bad guys are invincible. Like no matter what, they are taking out all. I was like, okay, surely Prodigy is going to be able to help them because he's so smart. Like the bad guys have got all these powers and stuff, but dude, Edison Crane, he's going to totally outsmart him. Nope, they took him out, no problem. Oh, they got time travel. Nope, took the time. Like nothing has worked. The bad guys have had the upper hand the entire time. But then this book goes to show you that there's a guy who's conquered pretty much all of space, now has time travel. He wants to conquer all of time. This guy is a major badass. And it's like all of a sudden the story goes from, okay, well, the superhero's fighting the bad. Wait a second. Now the bad guy's got this dude. He's like, he doesn't care. He's not aligned with these guys. Like, they're going to have to bow to him. So all of a sudden, you've got like a third party in the mix. Like, in the form of an alien invasion. Like, what?
Like I said, the Magic Order cannot get involved because it's supernatural threat.
Yep.
So something supernatural is going to happen, and I'm thinking like, is the risk of time, collapsing on itself, is that considered a threat?
I don't know if time will
don't know.
collapse on itself.
Is there a loophole?
I think I interpret that the Magic Order is just being written out of this story because clearly it just wouldn't be interesting to see someone wave a wand and be like, oh, it's all done. Like, so
also the Empress and spoilers for many who haven't read Empress yet, the guy who's her bodyguard, those two kind of have a thing for each other. So I wonder if they're going to betray the king or not.
Good,
The
yeah.
guy who,
so there's one part that I skipped or didn't detail, and it's here on the boat where Duke McQueen says something. He says, "You have any idea what this is all about, kid? Not a clue. Blah blah blah." The text said it was world threatening, so I sent a distress call to some old friends. Hopefully they'll be here to back us up if things get hairy. So Duke McQueen is kind of like a Flash Gordon-esque character. He went off into space, made friends with an alien empire, blah 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 blah, and then came back a hero.
Legacy, I think.
No, not Jupiter's Legacy.
What do you mean by old friends? That's what I'm confused about.
Well, that's what I'm saying. His whole story is he's a character like a Flash Gordon type. He's an Earthling that went off into space, befriended like an alien empire, did his whole thing, helped them, and then came back as this hero from right. And so he's saying old friends. What my assumption is he's referring to this alien empire that he made friends with. Like he made a phone call. It was like, hey, can you come help us? And it was a real kind of throwaway line here. But when you get to the end of the book and you see this and you're like, now what's going to happen? I'm imagining kind of Battle of Five Armies type of thing. You're like, because here's the third army showing up. You're like, and then all of a sudden Duke McQueen's friends in the next book are going to show up, like.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, was Jupiter Legacy the ones that got killed off at 87?
I think the Jupiter's Legacy is not part of this. I think because we saw the Jupiter's Legacy on the TV. So Jupiter's Legacy seemed to be fictional to this world. Like people know about them, but know them like it's a fiction. Yeah. I think that's the way Mark Miller wrote them into this. So, this book blew me away. This is how comics should, like, especially mainstream comics, Marvel and DC. Like, I think Miller just threw the gauntlet down and was like, "This is how you do it. This is what you are missing if you're reading Marvel and DC comics. This is what you could be having if you had someone talented like me and Pepe Larraz doing the art. Like, and we used to have Mark Miller used to write for Marvel Comics. Also wrote some DC comics. Pepe Larraz worked for like
Mark Miller on Guardians of the Galaxy would have been hilarious.
Man, just it.
Because the Empress is all space stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna read it pretty damn
Yeah,
quick. I've
I'm really interested in Empress after, just like I think it was the last issue that got me interested in reading Huck, and in the previous issue that got me interested in reading Prodigy.
yeah,
This one's got me really gung ho wanting to read Empress.
yep. Oh, show.
Empress, art on Empress is awesome, dude.
Yeah,
Is that
it's
the one? Is that Stuart Eminem?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, dude, I love Stuart Eminem's art.
So, man, I don't know how else to talk about this book. It's just
God,
this is
yeah,
a
it's
spectacle. Like every page, every line of dialogue, the art is just beautiful. The coloring. This is an astonishing book. I'm mesmerized. Like, why can't we have this? This is what comics like used to be. Just fantastic. Like, I just want to give a round of applause to my boy Mark Miller.
Yep.
All right, let me, you guys. Do you want to elaborate on any specific parts of the books that you liked, didn't like, whatever you want to say?
I mean, obviously, all of the Empress stuff was really cool. I did like the roundup / massacre of almost all the remaining heroes that occur. I like that our third nightclub guy. We find out what happens with him. Not so much what happens to him, but just we have some kind of closure with him, I guess. Yeah, just Nimbus, because it's kind of like in Nemesis and Wesley, it kind of like it almost mirrors the villain from that first run of ambassadors, where it's like the Korean ambassador's ex-husband rounds them, gets all the ambassadors together with his whole little army. I kind of thought that was like a mirror or like an homage to that a little bit. I also, in keeping with what I said about what we just said about Void Rivals and how that talked about politics and how Mark Millar talks about politics in this one, it's like, okay, this is 2 for 2. And how you can address this one gets a little bit closer to talking about Republicans and Democrats, but it doesn't quite go there. It's very cleverly done, where he's like, oh yeah, you just have the guys with the red hats fight against the girls with the purple hair, and I think it's Wesley talking, talking about like how they control the masses and everything. So I did appreciate that. I was like, dang, Miller's talking some truths here. So I also enjoyed that as well. Also, Kick-Ass has not died yet. I still do not think he will die. I think he will become the USA ambassador when / if we ever get the 2.0 version of that team. And I'm also not convinced that the Magic Order isn't going to be the end all, the final solution to this whole thing. Those are my thoughts.
I will be disappointed if they are. I think that's like an easy way out.
I feel like it is being like, it's because it's been brought up twice now, right? This is like what, the second time, I think.
Yeah.
Because she was told, I think, in the last issue that they can't intervene, and so I do feel like if it does end up being the final solution, I do feel like that'll be like, you kind of telegraphed your move here, Mark.
Yeah, I would
So
be really. I see what I think Mark is doing here is the
Yeah.
exact opposite. I think Mark is purposely like he's aware that the audience would be questioning this. I mean, like, why doesn't the Magic Order just shut this down? Like, and so as an author, you need to be aware of the questions that your audience is going to have, and you need to put the answers in your story so that they're not pulled out and go, this doesn't make sense. So here he's consciously, in my opinion, taking taking steps to say, yep, I'm aware of the Magic Order. You're not wrong to think about them, but this is why they're not doing what you'd expect them to do. And so the story accounts for that, and there's no plot hole. He's filling in the plot holes before they are plot holes, I guess. That's my interpretation. I
Maybe.
could be wrong. Issue 5, they could show up and be like, we're done. We don't care. Damn the
Yeah,
consequences.
I mean, because what's her name, the main girl? She's very much a damn the consequences type of character.
Yeah,
Or
I
at least
could
that's the
see her
impression that I
taking
get.
some sort of action, like going
Yeah,
rogue.
not the whole. Yeah, so I should clarify. I don't think the whole Magic Order would do anything, but I think that character specifically
However,
would be like, because she's kind of that whole F the authority, I'm gonna do what I want to do. She gives off
uh-huh,
those kind of vibes.
I
So
I I think though,
go
if
ahead.
you're right on that, which you could be, I think all that happens is she tries to do something, and then the other Magic Order stops her.
Could be, or she could like show up in the physical to confront Wesley. Maybe she does something, but then she dies in the process. I don't know. That's just my brain
I just
rabbit
think
holing right
everyone,
there.
I
I
think
don't know.
everyone will have a bad taste in their mouth if the Magic Order
I do feel
wraps
like it
things
would
up.
be the easy. I do feel very much like it would be like I thought originally. I was like, well, time travel, Chrononauts. I feel like that would be an easy way out too. Um, there's a few easy
I
answers.
just look at the brilliance of
Yeah,
Mark. Like he used time travel. I mean, just a few issues ago, when we saw the Chrononauts, we are like, oh, here it comes, time travel.
yep.
What's it gonna do? And we thought, and Venkman was right to think
Wow.
so. Like I was kind of there too. Like, oh, I guess maybe they will use the time travel to fix things. But instead, Mark
Mhm.
Millar uses the time travel to like make things worse, and brings this whole like alien techno race like to bear. And you're like, oh my gosh.
Wow. So once you read Empress, you're kind of I was just gonna say this, you're gonna have a lot of questions on how you get from where it ends to where they appear in this book. Because I was looking up and see how many volumes it was. It was in 2016.
Yep.
So I'm
Oh, it's
curious.
fairly recent. Okay.
Well, it's only 7 issues. I'm wondering, was there ever supposed to be a volume 2, and is it the book he just never finished? But yeah, there's a lot of answers about that too. So like I said, I really want to read more of the Magic Order now. I'm loving more of this character.
Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
just like,
She's definitely cool.
I'm
I'd love
I'm getting to the
everything
point
about this
now
book. Go ahead.
where every new comic book day, like my shop has a good selection of Mark Miller trades, and it's getting to the point where I almost want to pick up a different Mark Miller trade every
every
new
week.
week. But then it adds like $17 or $18. Because I mean they're not super expensive, I guess, as far as trades go. But it's just like I gotta add an extra almost $20 to my purchase.
Look on
But
In-Stock Trades.
but I also want to support my comic shop.
Well, then quick pitch it and buy that book.
I can do both. Dadgummit. I can and I will. This is my right as an American.
I'll listen to your bitching.
But I'm just saying he's got so many. Like I knew when Big Game started, and he talked about how all of his books are gonna. I thought I knew how big his library was, but it's like with each new issue of Big Game, and he hasn't even. We've only gotten glimpses of some of the books that he's worked on, like Jupiter's Legacy. You see like one picture of the main guy from Jupiter's Legacy. He doesn't even have a prominent role, but you just have
Nope.
like he just has so many books that he's written in this library. So I do also think now here's Ash. Oh my gosh, is it terrible to think? What if he has American Jesus come in and that's his final solution to everything?
Oh no. I don't think
American
American.
Zach, excuse me, Zach. What's with you doing the final solution all the time?
Well, I mean, you know what I
Oh.
mean? Like this whole conflict resolution, like how everything wraps up. Like
Yeah, that would be
what if it
terrible.
is
That'd be worse
American
than the
Jesus?
Magic Order. That'd be.
That would be I would look, I'd respect the balls to have him
No.
do that.
I think
I mean,
American
it
Jesus is
definitely
being. I think American Jesus is
definitely
being kept
wouldn't
out of
He
be
said,
this.
like I said,
it wouldn't be telegraphed as much
Ash,
as the Magic Order is.
after you read Empress, gonna go get on Comixology, you read through all 1 through 7, come back to this panel, and you're like where I am, like, I need more context. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right.
You listen to it.
I'm
And
definitely going to read it.
Also, it kind of looks like Doctor Strange and Hela.
A
That's what
little.
I'm getting. The way they're styled. But I like this. I think obviously there's between the queens, like, kill her, and like, and obviously it's a double innuendo. She's saying don't kill her. Do the opposite, and like, and I love how he's telling her, like, you're free, and she's like, nope, I'm just gonna beat the shit out of you and steal your bike. Like, she could have just asked, and he probably would have done so.
So I haven't read Empress, obviously, but since you kind of spoiled that they're kind of lovers or whatever. I look at this panel here and
Well,
I
yes,
see her
no.
talking, saying, "Do as my husband says, Captain. The word is gospel on this world." I see a woman who's acting like an obedient wife in front of her husband, obviously, but then she kind of gives a knowing glance. He makes eye contact, looks at her, and says, "Your wish is my command." And it's almost like there's two different conversations going on. The
Yep.
conversation that's the public one that everyone can hear, and then the eye contact of like, I know what you really mean. And and then she walks away and no one's the wiser, so to speak. That's how I'm interpreting it, but I haven't read Empress.
Very
So.
Game of Thrones. Very Game
Yes.
of Thrones.
Yeah, Game of Thrones. Oh man, I love this kick here, man. This is Pepe the Roz is so good.
Dude, I mean, I knew he was good. I saw, because didn't he do art for House of X, Powers of X? Was he one of the artists?
Yeah, he did the House of X part.
Yeah, he was all right, but this is the series, I think. I mean, his artwork on this is just.
Yeah. So the best thing about this,
way better.
For me, the best thing about this Honda issue, what it called, what's the thing? Is something my expectation avoided
Subverted?
or subverted my, yeah, thank you. It's late. And I love it because here we're thinking, okay, like, we're setting up Hit Girl and stuff. We get the scene where, like, okay, we shows everybody here's everybody. Last we knew that Kick-Ass was gonna go and join everybody. He gets into suit in the last issue, and then we see everybody at the thing, and like, and there's a guy like, hey, is that Kick-Ass there in a different costume? And then everyone gets killed, but it's revealed that Kick-Ass, basically didn't get on the bus. He was there.
Right.
I was so happy.
Is it wrong that I thought it was the new Kick-Ass? Remember when they brought in the black girl Kick-Ass? Is it wrong that I was like, oh, good, it's the backup one?
Final solution doesn't like the other Kick-Ass. I'm seeing a pattern here, but anyway, no. So I'm so happy because over this point, just like Nemesis, death. Nobody can stop this. Nobody can stop this guy. Up until the last issue, everyone died. Yeah. Hit Girl survived, and now Kick-Ass survived. We're gonna get Kick-Ass and Hit Girl teaming up one last time.
And then one of them dies.
All I know, dude, is did Mark Millar like wrote a story, and I've criticized comics in the past for like trying to write comics like wrestling matches, and I stand by that. I still hate that. I think it's a cheap way to write, but that's not to say that wrestling doesn't have its merit. One of the great things that wrestling does, especially when it's doing it right and like in its heyday, is building up the sort of anticipation of like two like heavyweights titans coming together, right? Like and it's not just pro wrestling, it's in the fight game, MMA, boxing, that sort of like hype, like Frazier versus Ali, and just like getting everyone to be like, no way they're gonna clash. And this whole time I feel like Miller has been building up these villains as just being like just unstoppable. Like the heroes are just getting their asses torn, and then all of a sudden he introduces like the challenger, it's like this new, I've been calling him Thanos, just like supreme badass guy, commands, like he's like talking about how their technology is like thousands of years ahead of like what's on Earth, and he's just like, and you're just like, this guy's untouched, and it's like Rocky 3, like when Clubber Lang shows up, and it's like, oh, Rocky's the champion, he's unbeatable. Oh, who's this Clubber Lang guy, And now it's like you think it's about, okay, the heroes, they're done, but then this page, like, but now this guy shows up, and it's like, can the villains deal with this? Like, and should we be rooting for the villains now, or does this other guy, do we let him just conquer the world? Like, what the hell? Like, I don't know what to think. This book just came out of left field, and I love that I'm just like surprised. There was no like cliche, like, oh, I know where this is going. Like, just it's so refreshing to like turn the pages and just be like, what? It's going where? Like, what is going on? I did not expect this. Rhaegar says Mr. T rolls up. I pity the fool.
Clubber Lang is the best Rocky villain. I think he's better than Drago.
Yeah.
I like Mr. T.
Yeah, Clubber Lang was great.
But yeah, this book, I also like how it's like when it comes to like the whole alien invasion thing, it's like it's that line from Phantom Menace where Qui-Gon Jinn's like, there's always a bigger fish. Like there's always someone out there that's bigger than you or meaner than you or something. And so the fact that Wesley here hasn't, he thinks he's like the all powerful guy, or like, there's nothing out there that can top what he's doing. And then just like he gets like genuine surprise, and like it's something he didn't plan for, because he's obviously, as you can tell throughout these last 4 issues, he's like meticulously planned this whole takedown of all the heroes that are in this world. He's accounted for everything. He's planned everything down to the details, down to like the most minute details. But he didn't account for this alien invasion to just pop up out of nowhere. So I like that, I like that level of I like that, that unexpectedness. Because especially like nowadays, it feels like maybe not so much with the villains, but it feels like with the big two, when it comes to the heroes, it's like they're it's impossible for them to like really be challenged,
Yep.
It's like, especially with a lot of the so-called woke heroes,
Yep.
the girl power, the girl boss heroes. It's like, oh, the villains are just like flies on a windshield to them. Basically, they're not obstacles. And you see this with some of the other heroes too, but basically, the ones we know, Captain Marvel, or some of the other ones where it's like, in order to prop them up as these strong women, they can't have like real challenges. Everything just has to come to them super easily. So I like seeing that, even with the villains in this book, there are actual challenges and not just like little speed bumps,
Yep. You well said. I agree with pretty much everything you said. This cover is issue number 5. I'm disappointed that we're gonna have a $7.99 issue, but
hey, it's a 56 pager too.
Yeah, this book has just been so phenomenal. I'll bite the bullet, I guess. But
yeah, I think it'll be worth it.
This cover kind of lends to RDV's theory.
A little bit.
Well, it's not time travel. It could be magic order.
I do like that cover though.
Causing where she decides to break the rules and interferes.
I also just like how it's a good combination of all the different characters, the main characters too.
On the other hand,
it's got kick-ass Hit Girl.
On the other hand, a really good cover should be a red herring. Like, it should not spoil the book.
True.
So,
we'll find out.
I think Millar has demonstrated for these first 4 issues that he really knows what he's doing. He understands how to trick the readers, how to keep them on their toes. He's just demonstrating all the tricks, like tools of the trade. I'm just excited. I see Kick-Ass and Hit Girl on the cover. 2 of my favorite characters that he's ever put to page. I've really grown to like Edison Crane, Prodigy. I was really disappointed when he got wasted. I was like, Oh, if there was anyone I thought could help, I think the Miller did that though. I think Miller knew
Mhm.
like who the strong chess pieces were, and
Yeah.
immediately took them out of the story to ramp up the tension. Because realistically, Hit Girl and Kick Ass should not be a real threat. Like Kick Ass doesn't even have powers, like or Hit Girl doesn't either. But Kick
Yeah.
Ass is just like a kid who's like got determination. He's not even, you know, um, it's kind of funny. The rest of these people though have real power, especially
Like
Cordelia.
when I think of Kick Ass, him dressing up, it's like Ghostbusters 2 when Louis Tully puts on the proton pack. I'm gonna do this. I'm with the guys.
Yeah,
I get that kind of feeling.
yeah.
What if what if there's like one character that isn't on this cover and that's who we should all be that's who we should all be focused on? What if that's what it
Um,
is? Like the one character that isn't on here is the one that makes and breaks
wow.
the whole finale.
I just realized sorry, it's off topic, but Stuart Immonen did a lot of the Superman stuff in Post Crisis. Drink, Zach, drink.
He also did Brian Michael Bendis's New Avengers run that I really liked.
He's currently doing the Avengers right now.
No, he's doing the covers. He's not doing the interior.
Wow, but dude, he's such a fantastic artist.
He's really good. No, he is a really good artist. I agree.
Rhaegar
He
says,
did something
who's the
else.
guy cheesing? Are you talking about the guy next to Edison Crane here, between Kick
I
Ass and
think that's
Edison?
Huck.
That's Huck.
I think that's
Remember-
Huck. Yeah.
So
Huck's
that-
really cool. I actually got one of his trades last week or 2 weeks ago. I need
Yeah,
to
that's
read it.
that's the guy that dropped a nuke on.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the one
And-
who like ran for 3 days to take a polar bear cub to like super wholesome.
Only to stop to have a Dr. Pepper, and the polar bear is like in his
super
backpack.
wholesome dude. Super wholesome dude. Think like Captain Marvel, like Shazam Captain Marvel.
Yeah, so like I said, red herring cover, but who cares? Is it? I wonder. I gotta look at the other covers.
Darn pretty. I want a poster of that. Honestly, I would like a poster.
What if Nemesis is the hero?
Oh,
What if? Yeah,
Oh.
what if it's Nemesis from a different reality?
nah, it wouldn't be the same. Nah, I don't bring multiverse junk in here. I don't
What do you
need
mean?
that.
What do you mean? They already did multiverse junk.
Nuh-uh. When? When did they do multiverse junk?
Wanted the whole entire thing is that they can go to different Earths.
Well,
Yeah, so it's something new.
it wouldn't have the same impact if here's another Nemesis.
I'm just saying, for me, I mean, not for this book, but it would be funny for Nemesis, in another book where Nemesis gets his ass beaten by a good Nemesis.
Eh.
But
I would find it interesting.
if-
Like I've always thought that in my opinion, and maybe Mark Miller's thought of something better, but my opinion, the best thing you could do with Nemesis is turn him into sort of the nemesis of everybody. He doesn't turn into
Yeah.
being a good guy, but he turns into
Right.
being the guy who's like, okay, well, there's no heroes to fight, so I'm bored. I guess I got to fight the villains because you're all that's left.
Yep.
And so now the villains are like, God damn it, we created a monster. like,
Like the joke, that's actually one of the few. Like, if somebody wants to make the Joker really interesting, you don't put him on the Legion of Doom. You make it to where he actually fights against the Legion of Doom, and they
Yeah.
actually like, yeah. So I could see that being the case. That would be fun to read.
wow, I'm looking at the variant has more of the
The black and white one.
no, the colored variant for number 5.
Oh yeah. No, I saw that one. That's all right. I like the cover A though. That one is gorgeous.
Well, I'm just saying, a lot of clickbait covers. You don't know what's actually going to happen in this book.
That's true.
Yeah, so
That's part of what I like is the not knowing. It's like that
Yep.
the theory crafting, the guessing. I mean, that is look again taking it to the big two. Sorry, Marvel. Sorry, DC, but you kind of brought this on yourself.
So,
this
like-
critiquing.
the variant cover shows a blonde with mascara on her eyes, and she's wearing the Chrononaut helmet.
Who's a blonde
I don't know.
that we've Bobby Griffin, that girl, she wasn't blonde, was she, or was she redhead?
But in the reflection in her visor of the glasses or whatever shows the magic order. So I wonder if she's a magic order villain. Who knows? I have to
Oh,
read more of that. But
yeah.
You
like I
really
said,
can't trust the variant covers.
no, I know I
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
But-
Because what was the variant cover for cover 4 had the King of Spies guy on it.
Yep.
Still waiting for him to show up.
Who knows? Maybe he will.
Maybe he is. Maybe he's not on the cover 5. So maybe he is the one. Maybe he shows up and he does like a Tom Cruise of Mission Impossible. He pulls a mask off his face.
Actually, you know what? Who was also in the variant? There was the girl with green hair and the purple. I don't know. Are they all from the King of Spies?
No. Just the one guy.
There was
I
the
feel
black
like
girl with the gun.
I feel like the girl was the princess from Empress. I could be wrong though.
I don't know, but League of Comic Geeks only lists for them. It says Kick-Ass, Leslie Gibson, Nemesis, Hit Girl, Danny Garcia,
I don't want
Corbin.
to hear spoilers. I don't want to hear spoilers.
Oh my gosh!
No
Well, no,
spoilers.
that's what's revealed in the previews. As far as
We
that,
don't
know.
want revealed in the
They're guessing.
previews.
I don't want to know any preview knowledge.
Yeah.
I want to go into this thing like Matt Murdock. I want to be blind.
Guess what? Don't look at the screen then, Zach. Don't look.
I'm not. I've been in my room the whole time. I'm not looking at the screen since we started talking about cover
Wait.
5.
I'm gonna tell you right now. something about League of Comic Geeks. League of Comic Geeks just guesses, as far as they don't even know when a book's coming out. So don't take what they listed there as actual, truth. They're guessing as far as who's going to be in there based on the cover alone.
I want
No,
my
League of
guesses
Comic
to be
Geeks takes
pure.
it from the solicit.
Well, yeah,
So
But I
the
mean, like,
solicit
but
the
this-
solicit
but this-
tells the stores kind of things of what's going on. So
but
sometimes
the solicit
sometimes-
doesn't even know when the book's coming out, though. That's the problem. That's why they're always wrong. So the book is, the books don't get
they're
pushed
not
back. It's just that-
always wrong. Independent books sometimes miss their dates because their small publishers have problems. But rarely if a book like from Marvel or DC is solicited on a certain time, does it not come out. At least if it is pushed back, you'll know in advance that it's pushed back. It's not like, hey, it's supposed to be out today. Where is it? You don't run into those kind of problems. But regardless, with the covers, I don't feel the covers are too much of a spoiler usually because most of the
You have no
times
idea.
covers are a lie. You can't trust what you're seeing, so I don't have too. There have been times that covers have spoiled, so but I trust Mark Millar. That's my deal. I feel like
The
he's
only-
earned
the
my
only-
trust. I do not
Yeah.
think he would go and be like, I'm gonna spoil the end of my story on the cover. Like I just
So I can say the only time a cover spoiled something and then a lot of people didn't catch on was Sean Gordon Murphy's White Knight, Harley Quinn,
mm,
because he'd show you, he'd put on there exactly everything that's going to happen and it's in the book. He'd have it listed in there, and either in the words or something. He had clues to what the issue was going to be about. But honestly, all I'm saying is that this is going to be cool.
here's a comment on League of Comic Geeks about big game number 5. So, I had a dream last night. Oliver Coipel's cover was revealed. It looked like the movie poster of The Losers, but with more characters. Basically, a bunch of the Miller World characters looking down at the camera on the ground. 2. The big reveal at the end of issue 5 would be that there would be an issue 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, and 12. 3. And the weird thing was, a 2-page spread of a bunch of Spider-Man characters from the Spider-Verse would show up. But this is probably not happening.
Probably. I think that would be really cool if he revealed at the end of issue 5 that, hey, surprise, there is an issue 6.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool. That'd almost be like a Robert Kirkman move
Yep.
where like he'll just like out of the blue pull out like hey, it's a Skybound X issue number 25, even
Yep.
though there was nothing between 5 and 25.
And that would be
think-
such a throwback, like, because Marvel Comics, I wouldn't say that they were like known for this, but there's been times like back in the 80s where they would do that, where they would say, oh, it's a 4-issue miniseries, and then there'd be like the most famous one I can think of is the original Punisher miniseries, If each
Oh,
issue says like one of a 4-issue miniseries, 2 of a 4-issue miniseries, 3 until you get to the 5th issue, it's like 5 of a 5-issue series. You're like, what?
did you ever read Miles Per Hour on PH?
No, that's
No.
not.
That
I
was
haven't read
that
that.
was the other Miller World book.
Yeah,
That was the Miller World book.
there's several books of his I haven't read. The ones that are tied in here, you got. I mean, MPH really is not tied here. They mention it. I haven't read Huck. I haven't read Empress. I haven't read Superior.
Reborn. Oh, you know what? That's
Yeah.
that's a book of Reborn. That's what that is on
I
that
haven't
variant.
read Superior.
Dash. That's it. And the variant. That's the chick from Reborn. Remember she wore that helmet?
Could
I'm looking at the cover.
that's got to be a red
Reborn.
herring?
For number 2, it shows her wearing the helmet in there. You know.
Yep.
Oh,
Nope.
my God.
That's the Reborn girl. You're right.
That's how they're
read
bringing back
Reborn.
Reborn.
It's the alternate cover. You
I know.
okay? You already
I-
have a variant cover that features a character that's not in the story, so
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Like I'm just saying, you threw Reborn into the mix. That is an interesting book too. And then Supernatural Order. Remember that? Can get involved. The Supernatural Order. If Reborn, is that Supernatural?
Reborn is definitely supernatural. I don't think Reborn is going to be a part of the series.
No.
There's a few of his books that aren't part of it.
No,
yeah, Jupiter's Legacy wasn't even a big part of it.
No, I'm just saying.
I was hoping to see a bigger piece of was Jupiter's Legacy.
If you throw Reborn into this thing, that is me crazy.
Yeah, you can't do Reborn into this. Same thing you can't do American Jesus.
Or maybe Reborn's the cliffhanger at the end.
The only way you could do Reborn into this that I can imagine that would be in a way that would work would be that you find out that big game essentially is also like Reborn, because the premise of Reborn is it's where you go when you die, and it's like a whole nother world existence, and it feels like this world. Like it's obviously not in the story. It's a fantasy, but that doesn't have to say that it has to be like a fantasy setting. It could be any setting. And the characters in that story have to fight a great evil. This character that you see here on the cover, like she's like this chosen one. It's a really good story. But imagine if this world, the Miller world here, like is not actually the real world. That's why superheroes can exist, because it's a world like an afterlife. That would be go ahead.
What if it's like the Matrix, and when everyone dies, like they just get pulled out of the fake world and they wake up in the real world? So all the characters, all the heroes that have died aren't really dead, they're just awake. And so the aliens come, they blast everybody, and so everybody, there's just like this mass waking up of heroes and villains and dogs and cats, whatever. Ooh.
Waking up to what though? Like
I don't know, just whatever
Nazis.
world they're in. I don't know.
Oh, it was like
I haven't thought that far through. It's a half-cooked idea. But I'm just saying that would be a cool way to have characters, because you've had so many characters die, but it's a way. It's like, oh, they're not really dead. They've just kind of been in this alternate plane of existence.
Maybe that's why that Magic Order can't get involved, because they're in a.
Wait a second. If these characters die and Reborn is the afterlife, those characters would be in her world.
Yep.
And by bringing her back, she could bring all the other characters back. You might see Reborn. I don't know. I don't want to read too much into it.
And then American Jesus shows up.
No.
Ash is very adamant against American Jesus.
I know.
Oh. I've never read American Jesus. I have no idea. It could actually maybe fit.
It could be a thoughtful analogy. Maybe it could. I haven't read it either.
I
I
want
can't
to
say.
I want to believe that the American Jesus story, the character in it is not actually Jesus. He's just a character that people call Jesus because he's got abilities and people mistake him, like I'm hoping that's what the story Miller told. Not like I'm going to write the second coming of Christ in my comic book. Like, no, please say you didn't do that.
I don't know if it's the second coming, because the second coming is he's more triumphant than his first coming. I think
Yes,
from what
but
I
if
gather,
that's Jesus in the comic, that would be the second coming.
I would imagine that it would be like an alternate universe, just telling like if Jesus came to Earth during modern times, like if it's an alternate Earth or something where Jesus didn't come to Earth during the ancient BC era.
I suppose that's a possibility. You could write a story like that too.
Yeah, that's what I think it might lean. Again, I haven't
Sure.
read it, so
Yeah,
I have
I
no idea.
part of me,
I
I
can
just
only
hope,
speculate.
I'm hoping it's like Mark wrote a story about a character that people confuse as Jesus, but he's not actually. He's just very similar or something, like, I don't know. Well, and
I could split it for you if you really wanted to. I just read the synopsis about it.
you just love spoiling things. You need
when
to make
he
a show, RDV, that you spoiling.
It's
when
called
he
it's
goes
called Best of the Week.
when he goes radio silent, when he goes like really quiet for at least a minute or two,
Because I'm
Yeah.
reading.
he's looking up other stuff.
I
don't
haven't.
I don't understand is why you want to spoil stuff for yourself. Like,
What do you mean
but-
for myself?
you're spoiling stuff for yourself.
You should never read a book then, because you're spoiling it for yourself then.
No,
No, it's
reading
not how
a
that
book.
works.
Reading a book isn't. You're reading through like the spoilers and this. You're
Well, no,
like
well, no,
rushing through
I-
all the story.
Not really. Not
Are
really
you not?
rushing.
To read the synopsis.
No, I'm not reading the synopsis. I actually read through Empresses while you guys were talking.
Oh, okay. Hey,
That's how I know about it.
you do you.
But American Jesus, obviously, I'm not gonna spend it's like a good hour reading this thing. It is just trash.
I'm sure it's well written. I just have an adverse reaction to people writing fictitious versions of God. But
Art's not like great either.
but I'm sure the quality of writing, like Mark Millar's proven that he knows what he's doing as a writer.
Right, guys? Like me. I'm okay with spoilers. Doesn't really for me. I'm the person that can't remember what he ate for two days ago for dinner. So you tell me something about something, I'm gonna forget by the time I get around to reading it.
I had jambalaya.
I think
jambalaya sounds good.
I can't.
It was really good. It was really good jambalaya.
It's like to me. It's like when somebody tells me their name, I instantly forget it within like 2 or 3 hours.
I forget in like 5 minutes.
That's
my memory is terrible. Rhaegar says he's okay with spoilers. Does not ruin anything for him. Well,
I'll just say this: read Empress. That is probably my new favorite book by Mark Millar.
Dang.
I like Void Rivals, but I like Empress more.
All right.
Dang.
I know.
So yeah, I don't know. I disagree, Rhaegar. I do think it ruins something for you. You just are okay with it being ruined, is my opinion.
When I found out that Santa Claus wasn't real, it didn't spoil it for me. I still got presents.
That's why I didn't get spoiled for you. That's what spoiling means, like you lose something from it. So when you read a story, you are engaged in it because the whole purpose of plot is to keep you wanting to know what happens next. But if someone tells you, oh, well, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, then you lose that feeling of like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen next, because it's already been told to you what's going to happen next. So there's no interest. You're not engaged in the plot anymore. Now, does that mean that the story is not worth consuming? No, of course it can still be. Like some of my favorite movies I've watched dozens of times, I totally know what's going to happen. there can be other things of value, but that feeling of like not knowing what's going to happen, especially like in big game like this issue, it would still have been worth reading had it been spoiled to me. But the fact that it wasn't spoiled, I can only get that experience once. And now, if you don't value that experience, that's a different story. I think that's what I hear when Rhaegar says that. I hear him saying that experience doesn't matter much to me, so I don't care. It doesn't ruin things for me. But I still argue it
different
is being
people
spoiled.
Yeah, different people value like you can tell me, like you know how some people get if they can't watch a sports game, but they record it and then they're like, "Don't tell me the score," you know, because they want to watch every play
Right.
without knowledge of what happens.
Yep.
Like I'm not like that with sports, but I'm like that with big game, or you know, I might be like that with like a video game ending or something like that that I get
Oh,
invested
I'm
in.
totally that way with sports. Like
Yeah.
that sense of suspense,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, like are we can like, oh, there's only 2 minutes. How they like if you know the outcome of the game, you don't have that feeling. It
Right.
doesn't mean that the game's not worth watching, but you do lose something.
You lose that initial surprise factor.
Yeah,
And
you lose
some
the
and some
opportunity- you
people
lose the
don't
opportunity to make bets.
some people don't
Um,
care about suspense. So
Sports Almanac. That's what I want.
but for me, I loved it. Like this book blew me away. Like is because every page turn was like, I have no idea what's gonna happen. Like where's this going? Like I just needed to know. I was gripped. It's been a long time since a comic book has gripped me like this.
Mark
And
Miller, congratulations. You've gripped me and I welcomed it and was excited by it.
whoa, all right. I think that signals time to wrap things up. So
That's what he said.
so Zach can go have a cigarette. All right. Well, any final thoughts about anything for this book? Anything else? We got Geeky Puppet Show tomorrow at what's it 6 Pacific?
I think it's 8.
6 Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern.
That's it. Yeah.
And screw the
God.
mountain guys.
In case you guys forget, whenever you click on Geeky Puppet Show, it's right in the upper banner. It tells exactly the days and the time that we go live.
There you go.
Yeah, because he's a professional frog.
And for those of you that
know
about the channel, I'll tell you about it. It's called Geeky Puppets. They do a show every Tuesday and Thursday. The Tuesday show is anticipating the books of the week, and then Thursday is coming back and talking about the books that they were anticipating and see if they lived up to the anticipation, or if there was any surprises, and just talking about what they think was the best of the week.
And then other books that we weren't in our top 5.
So there we go. Hopefully anyone that's listening still this far in the show, hopefully you get some entertainment. Hopefully you're reading these books.
Yeah.
If you are just listening in and you haven't read these books, I'm thankful you take participation with us. But if you read the books, man, I mean, they're both good books.
Come on, do it now. Come on, what are you waiting for?
I will not.
And I gotta say, I'm gonna point a finger at Comicsgate people, because they all say they love the comic book medium and they want to. There's a lot of good indie books out there. I know they all got their gripes with Marvel and DC, but there are a lot of good indie comics, like Image Comics, that they could be like hyping up if they really liked comics, and none of them talk about it. All they do is gripe and complain about Marvel and DC. And they don't want to support their local LCS. They don't talk about back issues. It's like there's still lots of good stuff. Maybe not lots, but I mean, we talked about 2 really good comic series tonight. Between Void Rivals, Big Game, there's a lot of good Image books coming out that maybe I'm just missing it, but I never see any of these, kickstarting comic guys talk about all the good Image books that are coming out, the good indie books that are coming out.
Yep, exactly.
And so I feel like it's a disservice because they're talking to presumably a lot of comic book fans, guys that grew up reading comics or like reading comics today, and they're not, it's kind of disingenuous because it's like they make people think, well, they're the only people they can get good comics from,
Yep.
where there's still Mark Miller's putting out books, or Robert Kirkman is still putting out books. You just don't really see a lot of hype about it, and it feels like that would be one of the biggest arenas that you would hear hype for these kind of books coming from. So I'm gonna point a finger at you guys in kind of a comedic way, but also kind of a serious
I
way.
tell you what, I I I would bet big money. I mean, there's no real way to quantify this, but I would bet big money. There's not a single thing coming out of Comicsgate that comes close to this.
Nope.
This is masterful comics. Like, it's just Mark Millar is like a Hall of Fame comic creator who's got one of the best artists in the business. This is like equivalent to like when Jim Lee was on X-Men. Like it's you get the best artist one of the best artists in the business, easily like top 3. Mark Millar is writing one of the best books he's written in a while. It's just it doesn't get much better than this, period. Like of any era in history. I've read all the Titanic books, well, except for Kingdom Come. That's on my list. But so I know like what the big dogs are, the big like, oh, this is one of the all-time greats. So I feel like I can make accurate comparisons. In my mind, like the greatest like crossover event that's like just epic of scope was Infinity Gauntlet, the original. That's
Mhm.
always been the top high bar. This book is like that. It's like it's right up there, like calling it its peer. And there's nothing coming out of Comicsgate. And I'm not trying to demean these guys. I'm fine because I don't expect these guys aren't Hall of Fame creators. Ethan Van Sciver is a fantastic artist. No question about it. His books are beautiful, but he's not a Hall of Fame writer, you know? And no one's buying Cyberfrog because they're just like, oh my gosh, Ethan's writing is brilliant. It just keeps me. No, they're a fan of his art, and that's fine. I've bought tons of comics because I just love the artist. But to say that your books are the only thing good and that the industry itself is just 100% garbage is utter nonsense. And it's foolhardy to say when that industry is putting out stuff that makes yours pale in comparison. So it would benefit them to your point. I think what you were saying was like embrace the quality, like stick together. This idea of like the industry versus the anti-industry is just stupid to me.
It goes back to what it's the politics thing that we mentioned in both of these books. It's pitting it's playing two sides against each other. You got, the people that'll say, oh, look at the big two, oh, they're so awful. And then what's the other side? They're just like black-pilled against everything. When really, I think the healthy mindset is like somewhere in the middle there. It's like, yeah, there's bad stuff in the comics
Well,
scene, but there's also really, really good stuff too.
well,
It's
yeah,
not just, it's not just EVS and some of these other guys that are making good comics, but they
well,
won't talk about the ones that are
yeah,
making good comics because then
exactly.
it throws a wrench in their whole argument.
Destroys the narrative. If you focus only on the bad stuff, Dave, same with there's mass shootings in our country. If you only show cherry pick certain articles,
Yep,
no,
Well, it's also hard to sell your $30 comic
that's true.
if you're pointing out
If
that
you're pointing out
that
the
big game
$5 comic that's really good,
big game's $3.99.
or yeah, $3.99, yeah,
Your book is almost 10 times as much.
yep. And I guarantee you it's not as pretty as Pepe Larraz.
Yeah, it's like this is the problem. Like, and I'm all for it. Look, if you
And look,
just have a
yeah,
dream of being a comic book creator and you just want to make it, and the industry is saying, screw you, we hate you, and you go and kickstart your book or whatever, all the power in the world, please go do it. I don't. I absolutely support people self-publishing,
100%.
doing whatever they can. But when you try to
100%.
make these lies and be like, well, the industry is 100% garbage and it's like, no, that now you're see to me it just makes you come across as a grifter. That the only answer to comics is your comic that you got to pay $30 for. It reminds me of the same kind of grifting I see in the political field. That it's
Yep.
like you got to subscribe to my channel, pay my $10 a month so you can get the inside scoop and you can screw the Dems and like it's like come on, no, dude, no.
My dad has several nuggets of wisdom that I've gleaned from him, especially since I started working with him. And one of his favorite nuggets that he likes to drop is you can never say about anything. You can't say two words, always and never. So you can't, or basically it boils down, you can't use absolutes because there's always going to be exceptions to the rule. So you can't say all mainstream or all big comic book publishers are terrible or all big comic book creators are terrible, because it's not the case. There's Mark Miller's, there's there's Jeremy Adams's, there's Jeff John, there's lots of good comic writers out there. They may not be
Baker
talked about. Ed Brubaker. Yeah, exactly. So you can't say they're all bad because then you discredit all the good ones.
Yep.
So, yeah. Anyway, that's it. I'm gonna step off my soapbox now. I've
Fantastic.
Well, I just want to know: is there a sale on soapboxes that I don't know about?
yeah, you gotta go to Costco.
Are you just borrowing the same soapbox you guys are poor?
I'm hoping for a Black Friday
Poor.
sale.
Well, yeah, it's a soapbox, man. Most people just buy the soap, But if you're just going into like the middle of a street, you're just grabbing somebody's box and standing on top of
I'll
it.
have you know, the soap that you buy that comes in a box is the expensive stuff.
It is. I just use the body wash.
I go back to the 1920s, man.
I use the soap that also doubles as shampoo. So I'm on a budget.
I saw like a comedy skit about that, about the difference between men and women, and it was like the woman had like the body, like was like the shampoo, the conditioner, like the body scrub, the exfoliant, like all these different bottles for all these different like special purposes, and then the guy was like the 7-in-1 body wash, toothpaste, like it was like all these things in like one.
I think I've seen that one. That
like,
is accurate.
Like dish soap, body wash, conditioner, all in one. Just like
if I could brush my teeth with my shampoo / body wash, that'd be perfect. I could do everything in the shower at the same time.
I was like, if there was ever a more clear delineation between men and women, it was like that.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I can go the opposite route and say like, this bar of soap, I use it for scrub my ass and washing my hair.
Oh.
God, you just had to make it dirty.
Well, honestly, there are guys like that who do the same thing.
Oh yeah, listen. I used to chaperone. Look, I was a chaperone on youth group trips with the boys. I believe me, I am aware.
the girl, she walks in, sees her husband using the bar of soap and rubbing his ass crack, and then she pictures all the times that she washed her face with the bar of soap. It's a saying. It's like, yeah.
And that's why I use body wash. All right, we're out of here, everyone. Thanks for showing up. It was a pleasure being here. I don't know what books we'll be doing next week, but we'll figure something out. Right? Maybe not.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, we always do. It seems like.
No, unless we don't.
Next week is Monday the 30th.
Yep, the day before Halloween.
Oh wait, we got Firepower and Void Rivals. All right, we figured it out. Oh, we got plot holes too. We got all sorts of books. Well,
triple play?
I don't know if we'll cover all three, but I mean, we definitely got books that all three of us are reading. So that's
for sure.
I don't know if I'll continue with plot holes. I didn't.
What?
Yeah.
Whatever. It's his loss.
I didn't care for the George Washington and all that crap.
You're darn right. It's his loss.
Whatever. 4 issues.
Don't worry, I'll read online.
I'm sure you will. You can go buy some silly other book
Body
instead.
wash.
I'll be buying plot holes. I like Sean
I'll
Gordon
be
Murphy.
I'll be buying some body wash at the same price.
You can get body wash for cheaper.
That's true. Go to Ollie's.
The dollar
Yeah.
store.
Yeah,
Why
dollar
is it
store.
$5? It's like 5. You need 5 separate dollars. It's still $1. You just need 5 of them.
All right, guys. We're out of here. Have a safe night. See you guys on the Geeky Puppet Show tomorrow. And if you're not there, well,
You're square.
you're square.